Let's go!
The world's first gaming-to-real racing league is here. The search is on for racing prodigies from around the world to test behind the wheel of real race cars. Racing is no longer just for the wealthy or elite. The future of motorsports is now, and it's open to all.
We about to change the game.
In Season 1, 32 of the best racing gamers were sent to real-world tryouts in Atlanta, Georgia, all expenses paid. 24 were drafted by 6 teams inside the Williams Racing Fan Zone in London during the Formula One British Grand Prix, receiving paid professional racing contracts. Now, these drivers are competing in the 10-round Prodigy Three championship to climb the ladder to the Prodigy Two and then the Prodigy One championship. The search for racing prodigies continues. Are you a racing prodigy? Compete now.
We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the skies. We about to change the game. Let's go!
James. Hello everybody, Arjuna Kankipati here alongside of Joey Tebben as you join us on the iRacing YouTube channels. We'll hopefully get started on the Racing Prodigy YouTube channel in just a few moments time. What's up for grabs right now? A golden ticket, a chance for a sim racer to take one step closer, Joey, in their dream of becoming a professional race car driver. Already 24 sim racers have competed in a full season of the Prodigy Racing League P3 Championship, and today one more driver gets one step closer to joining their ranks.
It's been a long journey to get here, and there's a lot of drivers who have been trying for multiple years to get to this step, to get their chance in real-life racing. Drivers who maybe couldn't make it in real life because of money issues. Drivers who have only been sim racers in the past, finally getting the chance to live their dreams of real-life race car driving. And it's going to be a practice in consistency. 3 races tonight, 3 different, very different tracks, total point affair at the end of it all. You're going to have to be championship consistent to win this short little championship this afternoon.
And we're racing in the Radical SR8, which is slightly old in the tooth, yes, in the world of iRacing. But these drivers have got to experience what downforce is all about. And so following in dirty air is going to be a key talking point. I think, Joey, qualifying is also going to be a key talking point. With 3 races, you can't afford to leave yourself behind the 8 ball at any point.
Track position's always very important, especially in short races like these. These Radicals are good race cars. There's not a ton of dirty air. You can follow, you can pass, but you just don't have that much time to make your way forward if you qualify at the back of the field. So as always, track position's going to be important, and keeping yourself alive at the end of these races is going to be important. You don't necessarily think about consistency when you're running an afternoon of races, but we're essentially running an entire championship over the next 3 hours with 3 races.
Absolutely, and we'll get into all of that. We'll talk about the drivers who have qualified through several different paths as well, Joey. Some of them have come through an iRacing official series. Others of them have made their way through time attack qualifiers.
Indeed, so that's 2 different schools of racing. Those about 26 or so, 24 drivers who qualified through the racing series. They have experience racing wheel to wheel in this car. They've excelled in that. That's why they're here. The drivers in the time attack qualifiers, we know they're great wheel to wheel. There's some big names in there. Williams Sim Racing's Jaden Munoz, for example, qualified through the time attack ladder, but still, he's not been in the arena for the entire season racing these Radicals, and now he's faced up against about 24 other guys who have been doing that for the last couple weeks.
Absolutely. We hope, by the way, that you are now joining us on the Racing Prodigy YouTube channel. So welcome along if you are just tuning in to the start of the finals of the 3 races coming up. Arjuna Kankipati joined alongside of Joey Tebben, and we are so glad to have your company. Joey, Racing Prodigy is pioneering the next evolution of motorsports. We were just talking about the first ever Prodigy Racing League P3 season being complete and in the books, and you can watch the first full season of the Prodigy Racing League out in the real world streaming free on Racer Select. Catch all the racing action on platforms like Roku, Freevee, Plex, Samsung TV Plus, LG channels, and more. For the full list of where to watch, head to racingprodigy.com. And guess what? Our first track is the historic Sebring International Raceway, where, Joey, we did get to visit in our first real-world racing season.
You always have to respect the bumps, whether it's in the real world or in the virtual world. They get you. The big bumps, the big curbs. Sebring is a place that rewards consistency. It rewards being on top of the wheel. It does not necessarily reward getting in over your head and starting off your night, or your afternoon rather, on the wrong foot.
I had the pleasure of driving a rental car around the track with Brian Till as my coach. I learned a lot, including just how bumpy this track can be if you place the car in spots it's not necessarily designed to be. Here comes Tamas Shimon, the Hungarian, the Sheza Esports driver, who's going to carve his way out through into Tower Turn. Now, this is a warm-up lap, Joey. They're still building up their temperature in the tires, and they'll get 2 laps in which to go fast.
Should be plenty of time to do that with 10 minutes on the clock. So if he has any trouble at all on lap 1, he can afford to go back to the pits and reset. But Thomas is a journeyman sim racing driver. We've seen him in so many events over the years, now racing for, as you mentioned, Sheza Esports, which is actually short for the Széchenyi István University. It's one of the national universities of Hungary. This guy's like an Olympic athlete for Hungary. He races for his country, and now he's trying to represent Hungary in the Prodigy Racing League today.
And so we'll take a look at the start of the lap here as he flies out through the final corner, just opens it up wide, tries to carry as much speed as possible, and then blast your way to the line. Used to be some grass on the outside, not so much in modern times now, as you run your way to the start of the lap around the Sebring International Raceway. I've just got word that might be a technical hold, so don't worry too much, I think, about the qualifying results that we'll see right now. Instead, we'll focus on some of the other things that we'll talk you through. We talked about, Joey, this winner is going to be one step closer to the dream of becoming a professional race car driver. They will earn a Prodigy Pass, an all-expenses-paid trip to join nearly 30 other sim racers at Season 2's Prodigy Week tryouts, where they'll compete for a shot at their paid pro racing contract, tested mentally, physically, and behind the scenes, everything that you need to be a full package race car driver.
And those other things you need to be a full package race car driver, I think that's going to be an even bigger part of Prodigy Week once it comes up again very soon. All of these drivers, we know they're fast. They wouldn't be here if they didn't have one lap pace, race pace, if they didn't have the pace to be a racing driver. But you've got to be able to transfer that to the on-track action. You've got to be physically fit to do that, and you have to do everything else a race car driver does, whether that's media, whether that's interviews, whether it's anything else at all. That's where the real training happens in Prodigy Weekend. Just one person from today is going to get there.
So many resources that they can leverage as well. The likes of Wimna, PitFit Racers Physio, Racer Network Solo Parent, alongside the likes of Williams Gaming Club Racing, iRacing rather, Racing Electronics, and Wine Country Motorsports, all coming together to help pioneer this next evolution of motorsports with us at Racing Prodigy. We're equally grateful to the teams, coaches, drivers, and fans that make this possible. The journey is all being done with you, and we're proud to be building it together. So, again, just a reminder, drivers are going around the track right now, effectively getting some practice. We will give them another shot at qualifying in a few moments' time for first of 3 races. And that's a new format, like you were saying, Joey. We've had semi-finals where we've eliminated half the field and then brought them together for the final race, but never really have we seen this sort of multi-legged triple header approach, and therefore the consistency is going to be really the key talking point.
Now, fans of Jeopardy might refer to it as a 3-race total point affair. On a certain game show, they'll play 2 games. The person who scores the most money across 2 games wins it, and that's exactly the format we're doing today. 3 different tracks, 3 different races. The drivers with the most points of it at the end of it all wins. It's a classic championship format, just with a very short 3-race championship. We're condensing an entire season of racing, essentially, into the next 3 hours. So the question becomes for the drivers, can you apply that consistency mindset of maybe not always going for the move when you're having a good points day, maybe not always going for the biggest risks. Can you apply that consistency to a season-long championship that's only going to take about 3 hours?
And you think of the tracks that we have. I kind of feel as though the track in which it's going to be easiest to pass is the track at which we're starting in. Okyama and VIR, I'll put them neck and neck. It is very possible to race at the Virginia International Raceway, but it's also very possible to follow in a single file line and not see much wheel-to-wheel action, especially with the downforce that these drivers are going to be bringing. So I think that's going to be an interesting way to close out the tournament, if you will, Joey, right? The fact that we'll go to the America's Motorsports Resort, as it's often dubbed, a track where there's some high-speed corners, some medium-speed corners, but maybe not some really big braking zones as you necessarily want for some good passing opportunities.
It's kind of a question of how many passing opportunities are there, and it kind of goes down as we go through the 3 races. Sebring, plenty of places to pass. You see passes in turn 3, you see passes in the hairpin, you see passes into Sunset Bend, you see passes just about everywhere on this track. At Okyama, there's maybe 2 good places to pass. There's turn 1 and there's the hairpin, and at VIR, your best bet's going to be in turn 1. So it's going to get tougher and tougher to pass as we go on tonight. So you really need to start this first race with a good points cushion, because if you have a bad qualifying, if you start deeper in the field the next 2 races, you're going to have a much harder time making up points.
Now, having said that, the point system, I think, is sort of skewed so that winning a race doesn't let you run away. So hopefully we'll see a chance for some fightbacks, but in a competitive field, we could be in for something rather tight. The way that the official iRacing series works is it wasn't traditional iRacing splits. Instead, it was snake splits, and so you had top drivers mixed in with slightly more medium and lower I-rated drivers, if you will. And really, we have 8 drivers who have accumulated the maximum 200 points in the championship and have all experienced similar sorts of success. You then look down through the rest of the names, and I'll just throw one out there, Dakota Fripp, who came very, very close in one of our recent finals in the MX-5, GR86, forget off the top of my head, but strong names up and down the board that I think we are going to be keeping our eye on. Joey, have you had the privilege of visiting Sebring just yet?
I wish. I have not yet. I've had the privilege of helping to produce a race at Sebring from a couple hundred miles north of Sebring, but not at the actual track yet.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I figured you were up in the production facilities. You've heard about the Sebring Hotel, right?
I've heard about it. Our friend DJ Clark has told stories about it, but I've never been.
Oh, well, should I tell you some stories? No, I don't think I'm allowed to tell you those stories.
We got time.
No, somewhere Nathan Nicholson is typing furiously on his phone saying, Arjuna, do not say those messages.
And I'm typing, Arjuna, please do.
Well, I tell you what, let's check back in.
Let's get out our phones, let's read our text messages, that's what we're going to do.
Let's check back in the broadcast booth as we hold, like I said, for a quick technical break. New session is going up, so drivers will get a chance to requalify, which, Joey, some of them have gone out there, and I'm sure in some cases will be quite happy with how their initial qualifying attempt went, right? But now they've got to do it again. What's going through their mind? What mindset changes do they need to bring as they get ready to go again?
It's both an advantage and a disadvantage, because the drivers who put good laps down in that previous session, they're going to be unhappy. They're going to be like, oh, I have to do that again. Unbelievable. The drivers who had bad qualifying sessions, they're going to be happy. They essentially got an added practice session this afternoon, and they're going to have 2 more chances to put a better lap time down. Which one are you? Hopefully neither. Hopefully those drivers who already set solid lap times, they're the drivers who have been setting solid lap times for the entire season. You'd imagine they'd be able to do it again, but it's just a stumbling block you have to get over. Just like there's many of those in real life. You end up with a red flag, you end up with technical issues. You got to get over it if you want to succeed.
Absolutely. And that's what I think separates the good from the great often in many cases, right? The ones who are able to put the disappointment, maybe that's the right way of putting it, disappointment aside and focus on the task at hand. And it's a hot button conversation topic this weekend as well, with what's going on in the world of the NTT IndyCar series, with one of the drivers not being in not being in the mood to talk to the media. I think that's the right way to put it, right, Joey? And we were talking about the media training. Oh, no, now he doesn't want to talk to us either.
I was walking out. I'm not responding to this question.
Now he doesn't want to talk to us either. I tell you what, let's go and check in with some of the stories of the Prodigy Racing League P3 Championship. The drivers that have already been through the Prodigy Week experience and now are living their dream as a real-life professional race car driver in the PRL.
My name is Nathan Saxon, and I am a racing prodigy. I'm from Rhode Island, which is something I'm very proud of because there's not many racers from the smallest state in the country. I'm a mechanical design engineer, and I work for a company that makes submarines. Really cool stuff. We basically work on anything mechanical inside the boat. More credit is due to all the submariners in this country because it is definitely a job that I don't envy, but it's really impressive.
Nathan Saxon is the best amateur driver in North America who should be driving professionally if he just had the money. And that's why we're here.
Oh, Nathan Saxon. It's a nice move as he tries to hunt down those in front.
Nathan was my second pick. He's so knowledgeable and he's extremely driven and wants to win, but he will help you like that, even if it means helping his teammates who be faster than him. He is such a great person to be around and to have a team.
With the opportunity to become a paid professional race car driver, which is not something that's normal in this industry, me and all my competitors are going to be taking this incredibly seriously, as you don't know when your last opportunity is going to come, and this might be the one that makes you that professional.
Catch the Prodigy Racing League all season long on Racer Network. See, I swear, some of these videos, they're just playing them at this point to remind me it's Williams Sim Racing now, not Williams Esports as they were when they filmed all that content. Big content, and it's still taking me a while to wrap my head around it. Nathan's a great guy. Love his story as well. And this is where the dynamic of the team really was an interesting story through the season in the Prodigy Racing League, and where drivers have got to understand what they will bring to teams as well, right? You are one of 4 drivers in the P3 Championship, Joey. And when I look at the lineup from Williams, Nathan Saxon was paired with Camden Hibbett, David Dalton Jr., and with Ciro Zambra. Nathan was the most experienced, the quote-unquote oldest of the group as well, and so he was the one that came in with the experience, the wisdom of how to try and navigate through some of those situations.
Well, that is the wisdom you need to have. Some drivers, especially in the field today, their only experience is in solo racing. They've only raced on their own, whether that's in go-karts, whether that's on iRacing. But being part of a team, you're always going to be part of a team in racing. It's very rare that you're solo, you're on your own in a single car team. So that's something you have to learn, and that's something that quite a few drivers already have an advantage in, whether that's the Williams Sim Racing drivers who are in our field today. There's multiple other drivers who are very experienced with team sim racing, with endurance racing. You gotta know how to work with people. You can't do it alone.
The format for the P3 Championship was unique as well, in that teams were going up 1 versus 1 with each other, and so it wasn't until our playoffs, the final round, when we returned to the NOLA Motorsports Park, that all the teams were thrown onto the track at the same time. So understanding how to work with each other was important, and great coaches as well. Williams had Michael Preston, Ben Hawkins, and Stephen English all there on site supporting the team side of things, and the great content crew as well. But TC Esports, Thibaut Courtois Racing, they had Tatiana Calderon as their coach guild. They had Catherine Legg. Sucker Punch had Andrew Carbonell. G2 had Boris Said. And BS Competition had Robbie Foley or Phil Denez, depending on the weekend. So can't complain either way. 2 very experienced sim racers and real-world racers as well. So just bringing in that level of experience and knowledge, again, that these drivers in some cases do not have. I mentioned Thibaut Courtois Racing. They do have one driver who they'll be keeping an eye on. Abel Torres has just signed for TC Esports, so he'll be hoping that Joey, he wins the Prodigy Pass, goes on to impress in Prodigy Week, and then gets drafted by his esports team to go and race in the real world.
That would be big for Abel. One of the youngest drivers in the field, if not the youngest driver in the field. Only 14 years old. He's been sim racing since he was 9 years old, I believe. So what a way to kick off your racing career before some people even get in a race car for the first time. Some of these guys didn't even sim race for the first time before they were 14.
When did you first sim race, Joey? Do you remember?
That would have been 2020, so I would have been 19, 20 or so. So I'm 6 years behind Abel.
I mean, if you want to be technically, I didn't sim race until I was 20 as well. So like, I jumped onto F1 with keyboard, you know, playing in classrooms.
Do we count Mario Kart? Does that count? Mario Kart on the DS? I was probably about 6.
I mean, that gets serious and intense. I mean, that's mental fortitude. It requires mental fortitude like no other.
Yeah.
When a blue shell comes at you when you're in the lead. But yeah, no, it's a different sort of racing. Let's be real. Final moments of practice, and we will go for qualifying. And this is the final go. First of 3 races, starting here at the Sebring International Raceway on the eastern coast of the US. Benefit of the sim racing world, Joey, will crisscross the world. We'll fly our way over to Okyama in Japan and then return to the east coast of the US for our final race of our 3-race tournament today at the Virginia International Raceway.
I call that logistical efficiency, Arjuna. Maximize the most unrealistic travel schedule possible, bring it to the virtual world. I think we should add a race on the moon next.
Ooh, iRacing. Can we get the iRacing Super Speedway with moon gravity, please?
Yes, please. That's what, about 100,000 miles or something?
It would be interesting. What would downforce even be? Qualifying underway, and again, drivers will get a full-out lap in which to build the temperature into the tires, and then the Radical SR8 will get 2 timed attempts in which to go. This, of course, a slightly older iteration of the Radical machine. There is a slightly newer version available on iRacing, but this one puts out just shy of 400 horsepower. It's about 300 pounds over a ton. So it's a pretty efficient beast, all things considered, and it's a downforce car. Joey, we've had some finals in 2025 in GR86 and MX-5s and BMW M2 CS Racing Cup machines. Nothing like this beast.
It's a downforce car, but the big advantage it has is, as you're looking at it from the front, there's no real separate wings. There is a rear wing with those 2 big elements, but it doesn't have those complicated elements that your typical open wheel car has. That means it spits up far less dirty air out the back, and it's far easier to follow in. So it's great to start to get that experience in a car that feels like an open wheel car, in a lightweight, not single seat, but essentially feels like a single seater. You're just not going to have the dirty air, and you can focus more on racecraft and on following. So it's much easier with that rectangular rear end just punching a big old hole in the air.
The cars all have spec liveries as well, so all designed by the team at Racing Prodigy. Let's jump on board with the Texan Jaden Munoz and fly through turn 1. Dab of brakes, down a gear. That's about it before you stamp back onto the loud pedal and trust the downforce is going to be there. Quick flick through 2 as you set up for the braking zone into turn 3. Look at the level of commitment from the Williams Sim Racing driver to carry the speed over the curb, attacking the track as he sweeps his way out of 5 on the outside curb as well, just to really maximize his speed and exits momentum. Then up towards turn 7. Hotel on the left-hand side. It's a great viewing area if you're not in a race car, but down into second gear. 80 kilometers an hour at the apex as he navigates his way through, being very careful not to clip the gravel that you can as you sweep through Cunningham and down towards what, in my opinion, is the toughest braking zone because of how bumpy it is on the left side of the track. It's deceptive as you try and get to the inside apex. And a nice job from Munoz to then get back down onto the power and slide his way in towards Collier and into tower turn. Straighten up the line on braking and then kiss the inside if you can. Oh, I think Jaden just kept 2 wheels within the track bounds. That might just be a valid lap time. These are 2 left-handers you don't even think about. Bishop and then 15 as you straighten up for the braking zone at Le Mans. Very efficient in the line from Munoz. He's being very, very tidy with the tires as well, as out of the final sequence of corners before the blast onto the Ullman straight and one final chance to breathe before what is an imposing corner. Look in front. It's blind. There's no reference as you flick the car to the right, trust the downforce, and then get onto the anchors for the final time around the lap. It's been a tidy lap for the 3.4 odd miles so far. Now just the blast to the line. No benchmark set just yet. A 1:55.474 from David Toth is the time to beat. And Jaden Munoz will not better that. It's a 55.568, but he's within a couple of tenths.
Now, there were definitely a couple of moments on that lap that Jaden's going to want to clean up. Turn 1, there was a little bobble, and through turn 10, or turn 13 at Tower, there was a little bit of a bobble as well where he threw it out into the grass. So he's got that one lap in the books. He knows where he did wrong, and now he can try and improve on just those 2 spots, and he's only 2 tenths off pole. Improve those 2 things. He might get a full tenth or maybe even 2 tenths. Look for Jaden to be a little bit faster on lap 2.
David Sobrero, that is currently on provisional pole position, 55.330, but 8 thousandths back to Matthias Orjula before Alex Beloso, Max Muir, Tamas Shimon, Ethan Bernard, David Toth, Matthias Kuzner, and then Leo Otcherov all in front of Jaden Munoz. A quarter of a second splits the top 10 as we jump on board with Agustin Torlashi in towards Tower. Half the session is done. Quite interesting that there were some drivers that elected to delay their release from pit lane, Joey. They will know what lap times they've got to beat as they're working through the final sector and running to the line.
Some drivers like to have that. They like to have a number to chase. They like to have something to try and follow. And Augustin Torlashi, not that far off pole either. This is how close this field is. 13th place right now. Only 3 tenths off current pole sitter David Sobrero. So see what he can do coming into the final corner. Splits aren't looking great so far. He's had a couple of sectors faster than Abel Torres, at least in front of him, but lost a ton of time through the middle part of the lap. David Toth goes to the top of the board, and they're all flying in. Great improvements on the track right now, so Augustin's probably going to improve as well.
So lap 2's the fast one, and it's mostly thousand splitting the field on the left side. Alex Beloso, first driver to dip down into the 54s with the exception of Max Muir. We got the fighter pilot Kamil Franchak that's up in the mix as well. Munoz rose his way up to 4th, but there are only a handful of drivers left on track, still with a chance of improvement. This is the dying stages of the session. Bryce Weyer is going to continue circulating for a 3rd lap. That is not going to count. And so who really do you have to look at? Daniel Harris has just broken the timing beam. He's gone to 18th position. Coming out of the final corner as well, I see Luca Becker, who's currently 1.4 seconds off pole position. So he'll be looking to try and close that margin down a little bit. Maybe lap 1 not getting quite hooked up for him. Thomas Delacourt, reserve driver. He's jumped to 20th position. Luca Becker to 27th. That is the session done and dusted. All drivers have got their times on the board.
Last laps, just some extra practice can never really hurt. You get a couple of extra moments to throw a car around here, and for a driver like Bryce Weyer, who's not as experienced as the majority of the field, every little extra bit counts. He's going to be starting from the back of the field. He's going to be thinking about some drama on lap 1, hopefully, to pick up a couple of positions. He's just taking these last couple of moments to look around and start seeing in his mind where the openings might be on lap 1.
So 2 reserve drivers, Thomas Delacourt and Josh Purwine, join us on short notice. So Delacourt 20th, Purwine 26th. This is only one of their chances to impress. The winner of the tournament wins a Prodigy Pass, but Joey, the Prodigy Search Selection Committee has a chance to review a 60-second video submission from the top 25% of the overall Radical SR8 Championship point standings and pick a winner from that. And we've seen some very worthy winners come as a result of the search selection process, including some of our drivers competing for Williams Sim Racing. There we go. I just did it.
There you go. Good. You corrected yourself in time. That's nice. There's a couple drivers in the field who have been a part of those final 10, the 10 finalists for the Prodigy Search Committee. Kamil Franchak, for example, who's going to be starting P4 in the race in just a few moments. He'd made the top 10 before, didn't get selected, though, so he's got the bit between his teeth here. He wants to prove that he can also make it. And for everybody else in the field, it's a little bit of solace knowing there's potentially a second chance if you show yourself well, but don't quite come out on top tonight.
It's the flying Alejandro Sanchez that has grabbed pole position. It will say Alex Beloso on our timing screen. That's his middle name. So he's using a second iRacing account. We will keep you a beam as to where everyone is. A couple of drivers, in fact, using their second iRacing account. But we are building up to the start of the first of our 3 30-minute races here in the final of the iRacing Radical SR8 Cup Finals in the Prodigy Racing League. We'll start here in the Sunshine State at the Sebring International Raceway before we shift gears over to Okyama and then in turn to the Virginia International Raceway. 17 turns. This is a track that the drivers will know very, very well, all 3.7 miles and probably every bump around the surface as well. Qualifying saw the 30 drivers split by 1.2 seconds. That's a sign of how well they have mastered this Radical SR8 with just under 400 horsepower, lightweight and downforce as they compete for a Prodigy Pass. Their ticket to the chance at competing for a professional racing contract at a track TBD, date TBD as well, but the excitement, I have no doubt, is building for them all.
Don't really need to know where the track is. You don't know when it's going to be. You just need to know that you're going to make it. And I think whoever picks that Prodigy Pass up in about 2.5 hours time, they're going to be happy either way. They're going to have a permanently open spot on their calendar no matter when they're going to be asked to come.
I should say TBA rather than TBD, right? To be announced. That's probably the more accurate term.
I see.
Because there's TBC, TBD, and TBA, right? That all mean very different things. So, sometimes we talk about 3-letter acronyms for the government. No, now we're talking about Arjuna being pedantic. Starting grid. Let's run down through that, shall we? It's Alejandro Sanchez that is on pole position with Max Muir going to be flying alongside him. And so across the pond for the two drivers, behind them a couple of Europeans, Matthias Orjula and Kamil Franchak share row 2. Jaden Munoz lines up 5th with Matthias Kuzner alongside on row number 3. David Toth is 7th, Carter Lundy is 8th with David Sobrero back in 9th and Leo Ovcharov in 10th position. Abel Torres hoping to try and work his way forward from 11th. Has got Agustin Torlashi, the Argentine driver for company, on that row of the grid, with Sergio Ferreira 13th, Ethan Bernard 14th, and then Jersey Glack, Tamas Shimon 15th and 16th spot. Dakota Fripp is buried in the field for a driver that has competed at the front of PRL finals before. He's 17th with Daniel Harris alongside him. Matthias Arvalo and Thomas Delacourt complete the top 20. It's Giuliano Caligari, apologies for slightly butchering your name. 21st position, James Barry is 22nd with Bryce Wire, Julian Swanson, Tobias Krunken, Josh Purwine, Luca Becker, Kit Olofsky, Max Ripolust, and Brandon Walker, the 30 Radical SR8s that are lined up on the Almond Straight. A short blast for them to get ready to go for the 30 minutes ahead.
Very little time to get those tires warmed up. Very little time to get the jitters out of your system. You got to be ready to go now. Race 1 of the afternoon. And here we go. The iRacing Porsche pace car rolls off, and you're already seeing Alejandro Sanchez Beloso and Maximilian Muir, who we're riding on board with, just ripping those tires, trying to get the little bit of heat he can in them before we go racing here in about 10 seconds.
3 30-minute races. The overall points combined, the grant of Prodigy Pass. The ticket to being one step closer to your dreams. Max Muir in VR looks off to the left, and the pressure comes immediately from Oriello. Beloso Sanchez has gone at the Sebring International Raceway as we go racing in the Radical SR8 Cup Finals. 2 wide behind, and there's contact, often into the grass, but not into the tyre wall. Crazy stuff as they all survive, but it releases the chaos further behind, Josh Purwine included. Kamil Franchak's been involved through turn 3. We've got cars on top of each other. Chaos as expected.
These Radicals are ramp-shaped. You can scoop a car up very easily, and there were multiple incidents there. Leo Ovcharov's at the back of the field. Matthias Kunzer already in trouble on lap 1. Dakota Fripp as well. Daniel Harris and Mati Orjuela, who started, or looked like he was going to be in the top 3 going into turn 1, instantly all the way at the back of the field. Not the way he wanted his day to start.
I'm going to put 2 and 2 together. Kamil Franchak came together with Kuzner, and I think that's probably what led to it. Big dives behind James Barry, so that's Luca Becker trying to make the move on Belovsky. For a second I thought there was contact, and there was. Julian Swanson with Brandon Walker as some radicals have lost the front end. 2 wide, 2 rows deep through tower turn. That's not how it's meant to work. And there is Kamil Franchak with the damage on the front of his car. At the front, Alejandro Sanchez Beloso with Max Muir still now in second, albeit surviving the challenge through turn 1. Toth third, Munoz fourth. Some chopping and changing. David Toth +4 on the race start.
Alex did exactly what he needed to do from pole. Got a great start, pulled about 3 car lengths before turn 1, and he saw in his mirrors they went 3 wide, and about 5 of his rivals got collected in turn 1. So he's running away from the field, trying to keep his cool right now, and he's keeping about a full second gap back to Max Muir. We'll see if he can hold on to that for 28 more minutes.
I count 6 meatballs, by the way, if you were wondering. That means 6 drivers with enough damage that they are required to return to the pit lane. Now, this fighting is of consequence, remember, because these drivers could be qualified at the front of the next 2 races and be in contention. Luca Becker trying to now work his way past Belowski on the inside of turn 1. Works out nicely as he trusts the downforce. It sticks to the ground. And Caligari going to try and follow from behind as well. So, dirty air, we were talking about it ad nauseum in the pre-race. Is this going to be actually somewhat beneficial for some of the drivers that the pack is somewhat splintered up at the front of the field? On board with Bryce Wire, heading up to the bumpy braking zone at turn 7.
Looking to the inside of Max Repo Lust, his fellow American. Dirty air's not so much of a problem in this train here. This is a little bit of a draft train, actually. That's what's hurting Bryce's chances here at the back of the train. He's just kind of riding now as the best overtaking opportunities of this track come at the end of the long straights, and he can't really do anything because the car in front of him's getting a draft. Then Guglielmo Caligari's getting a draft, and then the car in front of him's getting a draft, and again and again and again. You just got to peek to the inside when you can, and there was finally the opportunity with a checkup about 5 cars ahead. It Gauss-gunned its way back, and Repo Lust and Caligari end up side by side with the checkup finally ending at the last car in the train.
And if anyone's sitting there wondering, well, how did these lap times compare to when the real-world P3 drivers came here? Hard to compare because it's a different Radical. This is the SR8. The drivers are in the SR1. A little less horsepower, a little less downforce, I'm guessing, as well. Luca Becker, +9 so far. He is not the biggest mover. There are drivers +12, but they're going to be 3 wide into Sunset Bend. It's a corner with a million different lines, but not going to accommodate 3 of them simultaneously. Good defense there from the orange machine to just about hold on at the front. So Repo Lust controls, but still now with the speed building back to turn 1. Bryce Wire is going to back off and now try and cut back underneath in towards turn 3. Over the bumps for the 17, who kicks up some gravel and now watches that undercut. Wire gets the spot. What a move.
Bryce Wire in that blue and gray car. That's exactly what he was waiting to happen. He was waiting for a checkup, was waiting for a mistake. That was going to be his way in, and he did that fantastically. Guglielmo Caligari, very Italian name, but an American driver in the gray car, now on the back foot, nursing a tiny bit of damage from lap 1, I believe. Max Repo Lust is as well. Car looks clean, but he's looking to move his way forward.
Just a quick word on what happened at the start. I did go and take a look at the replay as we ride on board with Abel Torres right up behind Augustin Torlashi. No, surely not into tower turn. It's definitely not a passing spot. What happened was they basically shoved themselves 3 wide into the braking zone of turn 3, and as you'd suspect, that was the resulting trigger for some chaos. Race control going to be busy taking a look at everything involved and from all the different angles as well. The benefit and curse of the sim racing world, the fact that you can place cameras after the fact and go and look at things on repeat infinitely, if you will. David Toss lost about 1.3 seconds off Max Muir, who has not lost the race leader. So while we watch all of this behind, I want to give some kudos to Muir in that number 11 machine, keeping one of the best drivers in iRacing honest at the front of the field.
Still riding on board with Abel in the draft of Torlashi. Much faster on that last lap, 0.3 faster than Torlashi, cutting that gap in half, but just not close enough to go for a move into turn 1. Torlashi a little bit wide on the exit of turn 1. Doesn't open the door, though. That was the closest battle on track, but there's all of these kind of tandems all over the track of drivers separated by about 5/10 or about 3/10, just trying to get that little bit closer to be able to make a dive. You can't make a dive from 3/10 back. You can make a dive from 1/10 back, but Jaden Munoz, who we're seeing now, just a little bit too far back from David Toth to really go for an attack. He's just putting the pressure on and hoping the door opens soon.
It's down to half a second at the front of the field. Max Muir is chasing. Alejandro Sanchez Beloso feeling the pressure as well. We're on board with Ethan Bernard, who sits in 10th position. If you're wondering points, 10th position pays 18 points. A race win pays 40 points. There are points all the way down to a single point for last place. However, just quickly looking over the points as my mind is calculating them, Joey, I'm pretty confident if any driver is in the top 5 of all 3 races, they'll be pretty comfortably in contention for a Prodigy Pass.
But can you finish in the top 5 in all of those races? If you had a bad start today, there were drivers who could absolutely win a race in the next 2 races, or at least finish in the top 5 in both of them. Mati Orjuela, Leo Ovcharov, Matthias Kunzer, they're likely going to be starting with 1 point. The maximum they can score is 81 points if they get 40 points for the next 2 wins. So keep that number in mind when you think about drivers like David Toth, Jaden Munoz, who probably aren't going to win this race. At least right now, you can't write them off, but they're starting to lose touch with Mir and Beloso. But they score 33 points twice, 33, 33, 33. That's 99 points. That's championship win. It's going to be a lot of math to do today.
Speaking of those leaders, by the way, Joey, quarter of a second, it's coming.
Yeah,
I think
they're coming.
I think we're going to see a fight in this race. I think race wins matter. I think Max Muir recognizes he can't afford to sit behind for too much longer. We continue to sit with Jaden Munoz. Here comes look further behind. Carter Lundy's just past Abel Torres. These are drivers likely at this point not thinking they're in contention. Move up the inside from Kit Belowski. Taya Sarvallo has to leave the space and allow the move to slip on through. We're working lap 5, a 30-minute race. We're expecting around 15 or 16 laps, depending on how long things go. Big snap of oversteer for Belowski. Arvallo around the outside, can't take advantage.
Yeah, Kit closes the door. Big go-karter, so definitely knows how to close the door like that. But Kit's had a great day so far. Both him and Tobias Crookham really capitalized on that first lap trouble. Both of them are up 13 spots from where they started. So even if the Peruvian Matias Arevalo is able to get by, it's still a big upgrade from where Kit Belowski started. And that was a big upgrade through the final quarter onto the backstretch. Big wiggle, big understeer for Arevalo, and Belowski gets to run away for a moment.
Some moves as Ethan Bernard and Carter Lundy fight. Jaden Munoz has got past David Toth, and so now he's working on closing the 1.6 second advantage up to the front 2. So keep an eye on the Texan. Keep an eye on Max Muir as well, because I think the move has got to come. Now that Jaden Munoz has got the move, I don't think Muir has got to want to wait too long. If he allows Munoz to bring Toth, maybe Sobrero with him as well, what is now a 2-car fight, Joey, could become a 5-car fight.
And Munoz is a little bit faster than our race leader, at least taking his fastest lap into consideration. And on the last lap, he was a full 10th faster than Alejandro as well. So I wrote off these guys. I said they were fighting too hard. I said they were slowly building that gap, and it was going to be a Beloso Muir festival up at the top of the timesheets. But Munoz is destined to prove me wrong, and now he's got clean air to catch these two guys.
Here's the look on board. We saw Max Muir, I should say, Max Muir for the first time last year in the IMSA Esports Global Championship, and that's not to say he's not being a competitor in the sim racing space. It's just the first time I saw him at that level. And a level in which he was competing alongside Augustin Canapino, who has now joined up with Thibaut Courtois racing in the real world, and rather in the esports world. And they were better than some of the Coanda drivers regularly in the Porsche 963. So he stood out to me there, and I think he's catching plenty of eyes right now. Very, very tidy out through turn 16. And just now, into the braking zone of Sunset Bend. Will he pop out and have a look? Munoz is not closed on this lap. He's, if anything, lost about a tenth of a second. Closing, but not close enough.
No, you have to be side by side through Sunset if you want to make a move. You can't send a dive through there without wrecking the car in front and yourself. So very smart from Max there, and he'll live to fight another day. He's still got 20 more minutes left in this race to go for a move. Here's exactly how you make a move into Sunset, side by side, as Caligari and Repo Lust were again, and that's Kemel Franchak with no front end on that Radical, just trying to stay alive. He's just trying to maximize points right now. He's not going to be as fast as he could be. He's still faster than these two guys in front, who he out-qualified by about 10 positions. So he's just trying to find a way by in the corners, because he knows he's going to be suffering on the straights. Jersey Glack in the 6 as well. It's never good when you just have a giant hole in the front of your car. It's essentially like splitting that rear wing in half and pointing it upright. It's a parachute.
It's not designed like that from the factory,
No.
that's for sure. As much as there's still the... Ooh, almost runs into the back, into the braking zone, does Jersey Glack. You still got that distinctive sort of Radical shape. No, it's not designed for the air to flow over it like that. There have been some penalties from race control. So Kamil Franchak, 10-second time penalty. 69 has also got a 5-second penalty. Who's that? I'm just trying to...
Max Repo Lust.
Max Repo Lust. Everyone else has been deemed a racing incident so far. So still picking their way through, I think, is race control. But they've been able to get to the root of the various spots of chaos that we've seen so far. Joey, we're almost halfway complete with this first of the 3 race tournaments so far today.
Yeah, it's flying by, and I have a feeling this second half is going to be the action-packed half. Muir has closed that gap back down to our race leader. Wasn't able to make the move. David Toth is trying to keep momentum with Jaden Munoz, and Luca Becker now with a clean front end on his Radical, blowing by Jersey Glack in a straight line and easily making that move. That's how big of a disadvantage Jersey's at right now. He's absolutely faster in the corners. He out-qualified Luca Becker, but he's trying to pull out here, and he's just running into a wall of air. There's nothing he can do on the straights.
Big thank you to our partner Rosetta Stone for supporting the next generation of racing talent. Drivers are using it to build their confidence and communication both on and off the track, and fans can too. Start your language learning journey today with our exclusive 60% off discount. The link's in the chat. We're focused on the fight for, really right now, stacked up behind Augustin Torlashi. It's 6th position. So Abel Torres, Tamas Shimon, Ethan Bernard, and then Carter Lundy all trying to work their way through. Abel Torres, as I mentioned, signed up with Thibaut Courtois Esports. What can he do to try and pass the Argentine in front of him? Backs out down to turn 10.
Yeah, these two guys don't need Rosetta Stone to communicate with each other. The Argentinian who lives in Spain now, Augustin Torlashi, and Abel Torres, the born and bred Spaniard. They got a Hungarian driver behind them who might need a little bit of help, Tamas Shimon, and a French driver in Ethan Bernard. So lots of languages here in the middle of the field. It's a pan-European battle led by a couple of Spanish speakers.
Halfway through the first of the 3 races, there is Alejandro Sanchez Beloso, member of the Apex Racing team, competing at the top level of sim racing for many, many years. That is all you need to know, though. Max Muir, down to the final corner, doesn't look to the inside, releases the throttle, releases the pressure slightly as they slip and slide all over the shop. Jaden Munoz is not closing right now. They are holding each other at bay with 15 minutes left to go. Another 8 laps, I guess.
Jaden closed the teensiest little bit that lap by about a tenth, but it's been oscillating. He closes by a tenth, then he loses a tenth, then he closes by a tenth. He's not consistent enough to close down the gap to these two guys yet. But that was exactly the conversation that this open sign-up gives us. Anybody could qualify for this event. Anybody who succeeded in the regular season could be here. And you get a driver like Alejandro Sanchez, who's won championships at the top level of sim racing, and you got a driver like Max Muir, who is just kind of breaking onto the scene for the first time, has made it to close to the highest level, racing with drivers like Agustin Canapino, but doesn't have the resume that our race leader has. So, and now they're both equal on pace, racing at the top of this sheet. It evens everybody out.
And it's not to say that Max has not got some experience in the real world of his own to fall back on as well. He's a quick driver. So again, it's just that level of experience. It's the bringing the two worlds together, right? We've got a TC Racing in Season 1 had Gustavo Ariel, who is one of the highest I-rated drivers in the field. But then, we have had drivers that have come from the Street Kart Racing mobile game available on the Apple App Store for all iOS devices. In fact, one of our first round picks in the draft, Lawrence Beerton, is one of the world's #1 on the mobile platform. Look at the weather conditions as we get ready to tick past 1 p.m. virtual standard time. Track temperature at 54 degrees Celsius. That is sweltering. Ooh. It's building on track as Tamas Shimon. He goes for one. Does he grab two? He's alongside of Abel Torres. He's leaning on each other. That's some NASCAR-style side drafting as they come off the corner. And now in the draft for Agustin Torlashi. He'll grab the position back and maybe grab one more for benefit as well. No, backs out of it. And Tamas Shimon holds on to 7th.
It's a very smart move from Torlashi. Could have sent it to the inside on Abel Torres, but knew he wasn't quite there. Wasn't really going to make that stick. Backs out of it. But Tamas Shimon getting feisty in the middle of the field. You love to see it. You rarely see a 2-for-1 special at Sunset. And he came very close to making that happen. And now, coming into the hairpin in the draft, Abel Torres is going to defend. No, he's not. He realizes that Shimon is a little bit too far back, wasn't close enough for the dive. This is very smart racing. Abel Torres might be 14 years old, but he is about 94 in sim racing years.
There is something about young race car drivers that builds up that maturity, the level of experience as well. I've always said Tyler Maxson, who friend of Racebot TV, now racing, of course, in the Porsche Carrera Cup North America, one of the most mature 16-year-olds I've ever met when I first started working with him in some sim racing broadcasts a couple of years ago. So, still 2 tenths at the front between Sanchez Beloso and Muir. And Jaden Munoz, David Toth, David Sobrero, that next chasing pack before getting to the conga line that we keep our eyes on out of turn 16. Quite careful on the left-hand side not to go out too wide and get into the grass, and also trying to avoid any loose bits of the curb. Don't talk to Jai Fletcher about that one. Out of the final corner, back to the front of the field. About 10 minutes left to go, and Max Muir plodding. What does he see, Joey? Where do you think his opportunity's going to come?
He's very close, but turn 1 is just not a smart place to go for a pass if you're not already alongside. And unfortunately, Max realized that. This mistimed, or reality mistimed when he was going to get that run. He wants to get that run coming into the hairpin, coming into turn 10, somewhere that's a heavy braking zone where you can actually make a pass. He does not want to get that run into turn 1. He doesn't want to get a run where he's a little bit too far back into Sunset. But that's just how it goes. He's faster in the places where it's not really convenient, and he's been a little bit slower in the places that would help him the most. So he needs to find a way to move that cycle around and start getting better runs into these heavier braking zones. That'll be how he gets this race lead.
And it might not be the wheel-to-wheel fighting that we've seen throughout the rest of the field, but this is just as good as anything else, if you ask me. Two drivers putting it all out there. No quarter being given, and no room, no margin for letting up at this stage. On the 11th lap of this race, still estimating 16 to be run. So drivers know that they have seemingly got the measure of Jaden Munoz, David Toth, and the group behind, not seeming as though the 2-car train is going to be grown any longer. 7th position pays out 24 points, so that's a good 16 points less than a race win right now. Abel Torres will want 2 points more if he can grab that spot from in front of him. Tama Shimon is driving like a man on a mission right now. 10 spots gained in this race. He'll be hoping to qualify a little bit better in the next race at the Okyama International Circuit.
It's got to give him a lot of confidence, though. If he can figure out qualifying, he's absolutely not out of this. A 6th place finish, that's plenty of points. It's not race win points, but it's 26 points. And 2 wins for him, or a couple of podiums. He's very much in contention and doing exactly what he needs to do, making up positions, making up time. He's also racing sort of for Hungary as a national driver. He races for the same team as his fellow Hungarian who had a little bit more trouble, or a little bit less trouble at the start of the race, David Toth. And they're only separated by 2 spots. They're doing Hungary very proud today.
That's true, actually. I'd completely forgot David's still up there at the front.
Me too. I thought we lost him early, but no, he's just been in 4th all day.
Yeah, no. I mean, Sheza, we just are coming off the iRacing 6 Hours of the Glen last weekend. Sheza had a multi-car effort. However, pretty sure if I remember, the prototype had contact with the GT machine at one point. So that was not ideal, but great to see that not only have the Hungarian drivers just been at the around the scene for so long, but now they've got a coordinated effort. And Nobi Kish, who's a multi-time FIA European truck champion out there in the real world. He's also a 2-time digital Nürburgring endurance champion in the virtual world as well. He's out there and racing with them. Wheel-to-wheel action between Josh Purwine and Sergio Ferrero. This for 22nd spot.
Josh Purwine didn't necessarily know he was going to be here today. He was one of the reserve drivers, but did end up making the field with a couple of drivers ahead of him dropping out, and he's going to try and send it around the... he's on the inside in the orange car, rather. Sergio Ferrero in the 24, and the gray car clears Josh Purwine. These guys are throwing haymakers for 22nd and 23rd place, but every point matters. Points go down to 27th. So 1 extra point in Sergio Ferrero's box could matter at the end of the day.
And even if not for the Prodigy Pass today, it's all about just making sure that your case to the Prodigy Search Selection Committee is as strong as it can be. If you can fight back and show that you didn't let the disappointment hold you back, that's going to be a big thing. Keep in mind, Kamil Franchak still out there missing the front end of his car. 21st position for pole. Nathan Munoz has closed. He's 1.3 now. Yeah, 1.3 off the back of the leaders.
He needs them to start running side by side, though. The fact that they've been single file this entire race is not helping Jaden whatsoever. But the second Max Muir is able to actually make a move, and if he's actually able to slow Alex down a little bit and run side by side with him, this will become a 3-way battle, probably in the space of about 2 corners.
Now, Jaden is actually the fastest driver on the track. He has the fastest lap of the race. He was the fastest on the last lap of the race as well. Problem is, qualifying. Just comes down to that. Sanchez and Muir started on the front row, and even though Max Muir did not get a great jump, remember, he got attacked by 3rd place Matthias Oyello, and it just... He got very lucky he did not get collected in the incident that really kicked off out of turn 3. So you qualify up towards the front. It is going to pay dividends. That is what we are seeing right now with 5 minutes rather still left on the clock. Max Repo lost with a 5-second time penalty to be handed down after this. So he's going to finish 21st, I'm pretty sure, no matter what, unless Kamil Franchak is really that slow with the parachute of a front end.
Does Franchak also have a 5-second time penalty?
Oh, he's got the 10-second one, doesn't he?
Oh, okay. So, Max still wants to get by, just for, glory's sake, but he likely will get that position with a 5-second penalty versus a 10-second penalty, but neither of those guys want to give up. They still want to put on a show, even if they're racing for 20th now.
So 3 laps to go. Here comes some looks. That's the 4-car train that's now become a 5-car train with Carter Lundy joining the mix. Augustin Torlashi's on the inside of Ethan Bernard. Up through 3, clears him, and slams the door shut.
That was a huge run coming into turn 1 for Ethan Bernard. Saw the opening, had momentum, and went for it. He's got a little bit of damage on the front end of that Radical. You see a little bit of crinkling, but he's going to go for the switchback. Pulls to the inside of Augustin Torlashi. And that is a great move from Ethan Bernard. Not totally clear, but he's got the momentum on the inside. Now he is totally clear. 2 spots in 1 lap. I don't think Ethan's done. He's very fast, and he's still looking forward, blocking to the inside of Torlashi this time. And now he's got that position for good. He looks forward at Tomasz Simon, who's now fallen behind Abel Torres again.
Yeah, those two are going back and forth, and it's not really costing them too much, really, because they're far enough off the top 5. There's not much to be gained, but every little matters. Kamil Franchak and Max Ripolust, as we mentioned, both with penalties to be served, but neither wanting to back down. Franchak on the inside in that 15. And the Polish fighter pilot holds on. That was a bit aggressive with the weave off the corner, and now just a straight line speed.
They gotta be careful not to fight too hard here. Sergio Gurdiel Ferrero is only 17 seconds behind these guys. If they keep fighting like this and slowing each other down, Kamil Franchak's 10-second penalty might drop him another spot.
You'd hope Ripolust can now clear, as he's got the track position, and now down the Elman Straight, front of the field, fastest lap from Jaden Munoz. He has responded to the limited time remaining with 2 laps left to go. James Barry gets forced out wide. This is in the fight for 13th position, but there's 3 cars within 1.5 seconds at the front of the field, and Max Muir still has not pulled the trigger.
James Barry, one of the many drivers racing in VR. Kit Bolovsky does leave him a car length. Very respectful racing for both of these guys, but Kit much later on the brakes into turn 3.
Side by side for the lead.
But side by side for the lead incoming.
Yeah, Max Muir has decided to pull the trigger. He went for it, and now onto the penultimate lap of the race, Joey. There is no waiting. There's only a couple of points up for grabs between first and second. It's 4 points the difference. The last thing they'll want to do is come to blows. Long way around for Muir, but never going to happen.
Very difficult to run around the outside there. But into Tower, he's got to start getting himself back into position. Start getting that momentum back. Realign yourself. He's fast enough to get there in the first place. He's going to be fast enough to get a couple more shots. If he can get a shot in Sunset, if he can get a shot in turn 3 next time, he needs to find whatever magic finally gave him the chance to have an opportunity this lap to do it again. And there's Ethan Bernard. Unfortunate. After a spectacular lap, he's finally run into trouble.
That's unfortunate for him, but they're weaving back and forth on the Ulman Straight for the penultimate time. We have 1 lap left to go, and Max Muir is now being joined by Jaden Munoz in this fight at the front of the field. Look to the inside. Can he get it done? The American leans on the Spaniard. Contact between the two. Beloso Sanchez holds on, and now still in the lead, white flag in hand. This will come down to the wire. Sanchez covers the inside, leaves the downforce assisted move from Muir the long way around, but Jaden Munoz is closing, and cue the Jaws music. The fastest car on track is there and ready to pounce.
Max Muir and Jaden Munoz, I hope you're both ready to make a move around the outside, because this is going to be the defensivest Alejandro Sanchez Beloso has ever been in his life. He will be making that car as wide as humanly possible, and he's going to make sure that if either of these guys want to make this move, they have to do it the hard way. And Jaden Munoz, if he wants any shot at this win, he needs to make a move on Max Muir coming into turn 10 or coming into turn 13. If he waits any longer, he's not going to have any shot unless the front two take each other out.
And maybe a sign of how things have evolved is that when we started this PRL journey, we had some of the top-level sim racers, but maybe not as many as we do nowadays. At the front, we've got 4 drivers who are all, in their own regards, capable of winning the biggest sim races in the world. Alejandro Sanchez has been at the front of the Porsche Esports Super Cup before. He's been in that title fight. But this is the pressure of living his dream. That professional race car contract potentially up for grabs. Kicks up some grass as through Le Mans for the final time rather. Max Muir gets a great run, but Sanchez with a better one. The slingshot's going to be the difference, weaving back and forth like they're in Indianapolis in the month of May. 30 minutes of racing, 1 braking zone. It comes down to this. Jaden Munoz has given it his all, but now he watches as our camera car, Alejandro Sanchez, through the final corner, holds on in race 1 of the Radical SR8 Cup Finals here on iRacing.
The best way to start the afternoon. Held off Max Muir for 30 whole minutes. No bobbles under pressure whatsoever. Sanchez, he's made himself the favorite already.
He's now just got to do it 2 more times before the Prodigy Pass would be his. Okyama and the Virginia International Raceway beckon. Here's that battle. Franchak gets back in front of Repo Lust through the final couple of corners. Drag race to the line. The fighter pilot will lose it with the penalties, but like we said, great to see the fight all the way to the end.
And both of them will hold on to their positions just in a flipped order. Repo Lust will be promoted to 20th. Franchak down to 21st. Sergio Gurdiel Ferrero, 13 seconds back from those guys, will only get to be 22nd. But he came close to getting 21st at that.
So the drivers now have to very quickly switch gears. They'll go from Sebring to Okyama as, what did you call it earlier, Joey? The logistical juggling?
Logistical miracle? Something like that?
There you go. Yeah, something like that. Logistical miracle of sending 30 Radical SR8s around the world and then back again to go racing at VIR to close things off. So, unofficial race results. Alejandro Sanchez Veloso grabs the win with Max Muir in second. And then Jaden Munoz, David Toth, David Sobrero, Tamas Shimon, Abel Torres, Augustin Torlashi, Carter Lundy, and Tobias Krumken, the top 10. Thomas Delacourt in front of Ethan Bernard, who drops down to 12th. He'll be a little frustrated with that in front of Kip Belofsky for 13th. Caligari, Arvalo, Becker, Barry, Wire, Glack, Franchak. That's the top 20, albeit Franchak dropping behind Repo Lust, Ferrero, Perwine, Harris, Oriello, Walker, Ofteroff, Fripp, Kuzna, Swanson. That's the 30 as they are unofficially classified. But here is our winner, Alejandro Sanchez, who, as I mentioned, we are not going to get a chance to talk to, at least right now, I guess, Joey. So we'll hopefully get a chance to chat to our winner after the 3 races are done.
Yeah, he'll get a moment to review, a little moment to decompress, but it's not going to be a ton of time. We're just about to go into the next session at Okyama, and I think from what I saw from his hands in that little bit, he looked like he was steering already. He looked like he wasted no time loading into the next session. He's not taking any time to decompress. He's back on track already.
Yeah, no, he wants to try and get a sense for the track surface. That's the most important thing, right? To get the feel for slight nuances that sometimes you do get between sessions on iRacing, right? These drivers all have a fixed setup, though, Joey. So it's not like they're going to go in and dial in the car itself. They're dialing in their driving.
Exactly. They're dialing in themselves. They're getting in the groove. None of these guys need a ton of time to practice to get themselves in the groove. They are locked and loaded sim racing drivers with thousands of laps of experience at every track today, but it's still good to give yourself every moment you can. You never know that something might change. There might be something slightly different that you weren't ready for in terms of track conditions. It's good to get every lap you can.
Well, we are trying to send a driver down the journey through the Prodigy Racing League E-to-Real pipeline. Already 32 drivers have experienced what Prodigy Week is all about. Let's learn a little bit more about one of their stories.
In racing, it's very hard to get your shot because it's so expensive.
But if you've got game, you've got a shot.
There's an opportunity to really revolutionize motorsport through gaming.
In Season 1 of the Prodigy Racing League, 30 of the best gamers on Earth are racing in the real world, in real race cars, and only 20 will advance to the next level.
It's American Idol meets motorsport.
Do you have what it takes to become a PRL Pro driver? Enter our esports tournaments today.
A quick look at the Prodigy Racing League journey rather than any one specific driver in particular, but some great resources. As I was talking about earlier, you saw Boris Said, one of our G2 coaches there, who has won the 24 hours of the Nürburgring, which one of the most difficult races to win. Just imagine some of the stories that he'll have of driving through the night hours at a race like that.
Just make sure to ask him about Greg Biffle as well. I'm sure he'll be very happy to talk about rivalries and how you approach those as well. And I think an important aspect with the new sponsor, Rosetta Stone, I think I'm going to have to take some of this into mind as well as we move through countries virtually. We move from the United States to virtual Japan. All of these guys have already done a great job of learning English in their respective countries, but you got to learn multiple languages, whether you're going to race in the United States or race in Europe or even race in Japan, for example. You got to learn how to communicate if you want to succeed in racing, and who knows, maybe we'll see a couple drivers pick up the old Japanese Rosetta Stone program after today.
Well, konnichiwa to Okyama as we take a look at the first sector, the S's that lead to that long right-hand uphill hairpin, the Atwood curve, onto the back straightaway. That's a look at the final switchback hairpins in the final sector of the lap. Redman and Hobbs leading to Mike Knight curve. 11 turns around this track, which is one of the tracks that Joey, all drivers have experience at, because it is one of those tracks that everyone gets accustomed to from the lowest levels of the iRacing competition ladder. So even if you never really have watched any racing around Okyama, most of these drivers have probably done some racing here before.
I think it's a very underrated track, not just for how good it is with little open wheel cars or MX-5s or whatever you're starting with in rookie racing on iRacing, but it's a great racetrack, even for how tight it is. Turn 1's a great place to pass. That long back straight after the Atwood curve into the hairpin, that's a great place to pass. There's grass and gravel everywhere. There's all sorts of opportunities for mistakes. I think this is going to be just as exciting as the race at Sebring as we ride on board with Alejandro Sanchez Beloso, race winner, looking to carry his momentum into Okyama here. That first corner, fairly straightforward. This is a very difficult corner at Williams. Down the hill, late apex. He does a great job of carrying all the momentum. It's exceptionally difficult to run side by side through the Moss S here. And then the Atwood curve, downhill braking and then uphill acceleration. You got to brake a little bit earlier than you expect and accelerate a little bit, or brake a little bit later than you expect, accelerate a little bit earlier than you expect. And right here, Arjuna, best overtaking opportunity on the track into the hairpin.
And Joey, I think one thing already we saw through turn 1, lots of understeer. Lap 2 in Sebring was better for, I think, the tires. I think that's what's going to be important. And so with cooler conditions here, I would not be surprised if that is also the case as well. Beloso Sanchez out wide there, really just pushing the limits of the track. I think this is the benchmark lap. I think this is the one where you're getting the sense for how much you'll push on the next lap. And Sanchez being quite tentative out through those final couple of hairpins. Let's see what the benchmark times will be. But Joey, I think lap 2 is where the pressure will build for the likes of Sanchez Beloso to keep themselves at the front of the field.
I'm wondering if this lap is going to count, because he went off a little bit on the exit of Piper, the 90-degree corner. As he crosses the line, no, doesn't count. So he did get an off track on the exit of the second 90-degree corner in the middle sector. So he's only going to get one lap that really counts here. He's got to make sure to keep all 4 wheels within the white lines this time.
And that's going to only intensify that pressure. Max Muir has put himself on provisional pole. So guess what? If Sanchez Beloso is to falter, his main rival is there to pick up the pieces. Oyela now up to second after being involved in the incident at the start of that first race at Sebring and finding himself way down the running order. What he will try and do is recover as best he can. This is where we saw Sanchez run out wide. Much more tidy out of Piper for the American Max Muir, based out of Georgia, as he sequences out of these hairpins. Very patient on power. That's what you've got to be in these cars as you navigate your way through, leaning on the Hankook rubber behind you to put down 380 odd horsepower. Half this session is not even complete, and Max Muir is done both his timed attempts, so he's going to sit and watch to see if anyone can best the 1:23.392 that he's just set. Guess what? Kamil Franchak will.
It's a tidy lap from Max Muir, much tidier than the cable management behind his PC, but not fast enough. Franchak gets him, and now Alejandro gets him. Second lap, kept it within the white lines, and puts it on pole for the second race in a row.
And wow, if there was any indication of how the best respond under pressure, invalidated his first lap, Joey gets provisional pole on lap number 2.
Still a couple more lap times flowing in, but not from anybody who we think is going to challenge our pole sitter. Very similar grid from the first race at Sebring. Dakota Fripp, a big mover, qualified much better here than he did at Sebring, so look for him to be in contention today. And Mati Arjuela and Kamil Franchak up front again. They're both hoping to survive lap 1 this time.
Yeah, Daniel Harris does improve to 20th, then bumped to 21st by Ethan Bernard, who jumps to 16th position. But that is now officially qualifying in the books. On board with Thomas Delacourt, who's on a 3rd lap. Technically, Matthias Arvalo and Josh Perwine could improve, but I'm not seeing on my timing screen that they're tracking for an improvement right now. If anything, I think Josh Perwine might have had some issues in this qualifying session and struggling a bit more. That's a lot of curb usage through the penultimate corner. Not quite sure that was the optimal line.
Just getting a little bit of extra practice, and then he knows that lap's not going to count, so he parks it on the start-finish line. Dakota Fripp also using the added track time to get a little bit of extra time with this Radical on this racing surface. Dakota did a great job in the last Prodigy Racing League final he was in. I believe this is his 4th final that he's participated in. And he's always been consistent. He's always been good. Just hasn't quite been able to stand on the top step yet. He's hoping that this is the start of the momentum that gets him moving closer to that top step this afternoon.
He's come close, but we won't talk about how close because it involves some contact and a race control decision that took it away from him. Matthias Arvalo does improve. He goes to 27th position, and that is now officially all 30 drivers with their 2 timed laps on the board. And it's just some final practice that they are getting right now. I wonder, actually, if they were all to leave the race surface, would we get pushed forward into the race that little bit quicker?
I think so, but they want every second they can get.
That's always interesting, right? Just thinking about, because it's a fixed setup, right? They don't have the opportunity to take fuel out of the car. So they can't go and try and really adjust the car and make the most of it. So you might as well go and get the extra laps of practice.
They're getting low fuel practice at least as they expend these fuel tanks. And Josh Perwine, as we mentioned, didn't necessarily expect to be here today. He was on the reserve list, so I assume he was still staying race ready, but he wasn't in the original grid for this event. So last minute entry, getting a little bit of extra practice. Matteo Kunzer, the Italian driver, I believe has come out of the conclave. He's been elected a cardinal now. Wow, good for him.
Has the white smoke gone up?
I don't know yet. I haven't seen the news yet. I assume our old friend Leo's still around, but apparently Matteo has been appointed bishop for the dicastery of sim racing. Wow.
Well, 2 minutes and we will get ready to go. We'll ignore the iRacing flag system that...
I don't want to ignore it. I love it. I love this. You should see Kit Belovsky's flag.
I'm just going to trigger you next. Whenever I'm racing and you're commentating on me, I'm going to be racing from Antarctica, Joey, and you're going to have to sit there and wonder, did I actually fly to Antarctica with my sim rig to go racing?
I would believe it.
And the thing is, we know that you would as well. The conditions, by the way, the drivers are dealing with a lot more foggy and gloomy than what we're seeing right now in these B-roll shots, Joey, which it's not a problem by any means. If anything, what it probably does is give them a bit more grip because it's probably cooler conditions, and so that's something just to think about. But let's get ready to go. 60 seconds away from qualifying drawing to a close, and the drivers getting themselves onto the starting formation. 2x2 they will be for the second race in this iRacing Radical SR8 Cup Finals, the next tournament in the PRL Season 2 esports competitions. Race 1 in the books at Sebring. We made our way halfway around the world to Okyama before we'll crisscross back to the Virginia International Raceway. But 13 corners, 2.3 miles, a track that an iRacing rookie will do plenty of laps around, albeit not in a downforce beast. Usually they'd race in something like an MX-5, a GR86, or a BMW M2. Those are all cars that we've run esports tournaments in earlier this year, but instead it's the high-power 380 horses out the back of the 2 wheels on the Radical SR8 as they all compete, Joey, for their Prodigy Pass, their golden ticket to their next step in the journey of their dream of becoming a professional race car driver.
And if you want to pick up that Prodigy Pass, we need to hope for a cleaner opening lap than we had at Sebring. Mati Orjuela has got a second chance up front. Kamil Franchek has got a second chance up front. They need to hope they can get away from turn one this time without being on top of each other if they want to stay alive, because right now Alejandro Sanchez looks like he's going to be consistent all the way through. He needs to be beaten in this race if you want a shot at the end of the afternoon with only one race after this.
So a quick rundown of that starting lineup just to give you a confirmation as we wait for the instructions to go racing. It is, once again, Alejandro Sanchez Beloso that will start at the front of the field, although this time with Kamil Franchak alongside. Max Muir will line up third inside of row 2. We'll have Mati Orjuela alongside in fourth, David Toth, David Sobrero, fifth and sixth positions. Dakota Fripp seventh. Jaden Munoz has got to work through the field again from eighth, with Tamas Shimon and Leo Ovtcharov, the top 10. Abel Torres, Jersey Glack, that's row 6 with Matthias Kunzer and Sergio Ferreira, row 7. Carter Lundy and Ethan Bernard are 15th and 16th, with Tobias Krunken and James Barry behind them. Luca Becker, Augustin Torlashi, they bookend the top 20 with Daniel Harrison, Guglielmo Caligari, 21st and 22nd. Julian Swanson and Bryce Wire, 23rd and 24th, with Max Aripo, Brandon Walker, Matthias Arvalo, Thomas Delacourt, Kip Bolowski, and Josh Perwine, the 30 drivers that will do battle in the second race of 3 in our Radical SR8 Cup finals. And remember, it's the accumulated points across those 3 races, Joey, that make the difference. So you and I, we've got to get our calculators out, the TI-89s, and be ready with the numbers as we go through this next 30-minute race.
You got a TI-89 already?
I'm fancy.
I'm still on like the TI-4. I missed a couple updates.
You can tell that I'm packing, and I found my calculator from college. That was my TI-89, by the way. It's legitimately 12 years old at this point.
I see. What's nerd in Japanese?
Ooh. One sec.
Nerdu? Get Rosetta Stone out.
That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to pull it up. Is it going to be in time as we pull away on the back straightaway? Track conditions, a balmy 36 degrees track temperature, so definitely not as warm as it was at Sebring. But, I mean, Joey, what's your expectation from this race as we get ready to go? All 30 cars lined up and behind the pace car.
I mean, the only Japanese vocabulary word, kurashu on the pace lap is exactly what I had in my mind. And that was Brandon Walker, I believe, getting turned around on the pace lap. I'm not sure if there was contact or if that was him clipping the grass while trying to warm his tires, but we haven't even made it to the green flag, and we've already got somebody spinning to the back of the field. And even more contact as they weave.
I think is just a sign of cold tires and the drivers putting as much energy into the Hankooks as they can. Turn 1 will be interesting. The sorries have been dropped into the iRacing chat in Sim, by the way, if you were wondering.
Good.
Here we go. Pace car off and away. It's Alex Sanchez Beloso in control of the field. Fighter pilot Kamil Franchak watches now as Max Muir is going to charge to the inside, and we're racing. A crash behind. It's Julian Swanson that's gone around, and there's going to be chaos. Repo lost. Abel Torres as well. 3 wide, funneling in for second spot though, and that's caused chaos as well. Oh my goodness. Max Muir has held on to it. He's still third position, but David Toth has got up to second. Jaden Munoz is up to fifth. A rip-roaring start for the Texan as he battles alongside of David Sobrero up to the right-hand hairpin.
Already trouble in turn 1 again. Looking to get things stratified out here up the Atwood curve, up the hill for the first time. That's side by side with the gray car. That's Mati Orjuela. And the bright blue car is Dakota Fripp. Best overtaking spot on the track here. We're getting a view of it already. Side by side, banked on the outside. You can make a run work if you're fast enough, but the inside wins out. And David Toth, up in the first battle there, takes second place.
Your leader is 1 full second clear. Alejandro Sanchez Beloso trying to run away with a race 2 victory that would put him 1 step closer to the Prodigy Pass. David Toth trying to hunt him down. Max Muir trying to stymie the points bleeding if he can, with David Sobrero and Mati Orjuela, the rest of the top 5. Thomas Shimon is alongside of Ethan Bernard, who's had a pretty decent start. He's +3. Thomas Shimon is -3. Around the outside, almost contact between the two as they almost touch door mirrors there. Off the corner, the Frenchman loses out some damage to the back of the 9, so the Hungarian maybe struggling for the balance as they work through some of the more medium speed corners. 2x2, they tiptoe. Crazy start. Look how much gravel has been carried back onto the track.
Ethan Bernard has been spectacular to watch in both races so far today. He's a big-time go-karter in France, very successful, got the chance. Oh, but he gets a dive to the inside from, that was Tobias Krucken taking a peek to the inside. Ethan gets a better run on the outside. He knows how to fight in go-karts. He had a chance to move up into car racing, didn't have the money to make that happen, so he's going through the sim racing pipeline to try and make his dreams a reality, and he's fighting hard.
That's crazy off the hairpin. What's also crazy is 4 black flags, which I'm pretty sure, Joey, must be for various start infringements, because I think these are automated. These aren't handed out by the stewards, so it's going to be interesting what happens. Was it because they were avoiding incidents? Have to wait and see.
There was that crash at the back of the field before the green flag came out, so
exactly,
that may be it.
And that's what was making me think about that is Gustavo Ariel, of course, Thibaut Courtois racing driver in Season 1 of the P3 Championship. He, last week in the Watkins Glen 6 hour, got a penalty for avoiding a crash in a similar way. So I would not be surprised if those get cleared. They've got 1 lap in which to clear them before drivers will be forced to head down to pit lane. Beloso at the front, by the way, starting to get closed on. Last lap, 2/10, David Toth able to close in the draft.
I mean, this looks a lot like the last race at Sebring, though. The same thing happened in turn 1. They were 4 wide, and Kamil Franchak gets wrecked for the 2nd race in a row. And Alejandro Sanchez Beloso, who started on pole, got a big jump over the entire field, just drove away from it all. That's 2 races in a row that he's been able to avoid all of the turn 1 chaos. And right now, I don't know if David Toth has the pace to catch him. He didn't have the pace to catch him at Sebring. Is he going to be able to be faster here at Okyama and bring down an even bigger gap than Max Muir had in the previous race?
Confirmation from race control. Those black flags have been cleared, so they've been on the case and been working with the drivers, and no penalties as a result of that crash on the start. On board with Kit Bolowski as he battles Josh Perwine, who's now going the long way around through the 2nd of the hairpins. Not going to work out. Bolowski will clear and hold on to that spot. Now I see what you were saying about the flag, and I'm moving straight on from that one. End of lap 3 for these drivers. We're on to the 4th lap of this race. They're going to fly on by.
Not surprised to see Kit Bolowski having a little bit of fun, at least. If you've ever seen, there was a viral video of Gordon Ramsay reacting to somebody cooking a steak on the tailpipe of a go-kart. That was actually Kit that made that video. So if you've ever seen that, that's you putting a name to a face there. He cooks all sorts of things on his go-kart. He put cheese on it one time. I think he made pancakes. Yes. There's a disgusting one with liver.
He's got some great videos. One that popped through on my social media feed a couple of nights ago, actually, as I was doing the doom scroll, was endurance racing commentary at night. Kit had put a compilation of the various things that happen at Le Mans, where they talk about all sorts of things that I'm not allowed to say right now, and they sing songs that we can actually sing, but we won't. Caligari is watching this fight in front of him. Becker, Ferrero, he's got a chance to slip to the inside. Not one to say no. 17 grabs his chance, but off the corner, great drive from Ferrero. It's not done just yet. Tries to pinch on the brakes.
He turns in and closes the door on the cabinet of Dr. Caligari there, and that's going to allow Kit Bolowski looked like he might get a shot into the 2nd to last corner, but didn't quite have the momentum. Little lockup from the front of the train from Sergio Gurdiel Ferrero, but single file now. They've resolved their differences for the moment into turn 1.
Front of the field is down to 5 or so tenths of a second. I think the draft's helping as in front of Bolowski. That's Caligari. That's going to take advantage of Ferrero's mistake. Bolowski's going to try and do so as well around the outside, and it just about works out. Nicely done. Josh Perwine not close enough to make that 3 positions split off for Ferrero, but back into line. What I'm seeing at the front of the field, Joey, is the draft's good enough to close the drivers up, but then they get to a point where it's not helping them, the draft, as much as the dirty air is hurting them, and they're struggling to really make the moves at the front.
Oh, very late in the brakes. I think Sergio Ferreira's having trouble with his brakes. He locked it up into the final corner, locked it up into turn one, missed the corner into the hairpin. He's having some real trouble with the old left foot there.
That's one way of putting it. Might also just be that he might be having a technical issue, potentially. You'd have to wonder, right? These are cars without ABS, and so if you're having an issue where your brake's just going from 0 to 100, that's very difficult in a car such as this, to be able to bleed off the brakes. Now, not saying that is the case. It could just be one thing to think about. Matthias Hunzer, right behind him is Jerzy Glatt. This is the fight for 7th and 8th position. They've lost 1.5 seconds off Jaden Munoz, so it's a 6-car conga line that currently runs at the front of the field with 7.5 minutes complete.
Jerzy had a tough old time at Sebring, lost the front end of his car. He's having a much better time, and I think he's realizing how fast this car can be in a straight line now that he has the actual bodywork on there. And he's one of the Williams sim racing drivers in the field, one of quite a few who knows what it's like to race on a team, who knows what it's like to succeed at the highest levels of sim racing. Still only 19 years old, fighting with another guy who's kind of a journeyman in sim racing, and Matthias Kunzer, or Matteo Kunzer as we know in most places. Drives for Visceral Esports. He's actually teammates with David Sobrero, who's a little bit further in the order. Two big names in sim racing finding each other in the middle of the field.
This is where it's weird, because David Sobrero is technically also, I think, Williams Sim Racing Academy driver. So that's where the lines blur between the Visceral and Williams camps in some regards. Backwards, a bit of gravel kicked up.
His Vatican apartment looks very nice.
It does look very nice. Beloso Sanchez, by the way, has just put in the fastest lap of the race. So as much as I've been saying that gap's closing, he's responded. Not even 10 minutes in. That fight between those front six is very much now just between lap times at this point, Joey. So I'm kind of expecting this to be the same sort of race at VIR as well. So once again, qualifying important, staying out of trouble important, and I'm just going to call Kamil Franchak as the example. Qualified great in both races so far, and we haven't seen the replay just yet, but you know, when you're involved in two incidents and you're starting up there, sometimes you do have to step back and go, right, what could I have done differently to stay out of trouble?
And his hopes of winning this event are over. He has no mathematical chance of winning this overall, but what he can do in the third race is take those lessons he's learned from the first two races, have a spectacular performance, maybe even win race 3, and at least put yourself fresh in the minds of the Prodigy Search Selection Committee that shows that you can come back from some disadvantages, you can learn from your mistakes, and you can come back better from ever. And that's exactly what he needs to do in race 3.
There's David Toth, who's got a party playing behind him with the RGB keyboard. Don't worry, that is not a rave happening behind David.
I wish it was.
That'd be quite fun. I know the...
I'm sure there's plenty of raves going on at the Sitsieni Istvan University.
So I was thinking, the university probably knows how to party, right? So I hope the sim racers are going and joining them as well. Look at those lap times, though, the differences. We're talking hundredths between the two of them here, right? It's blink here and there, and you're losing time. So it's going to be very, very curious, with traffic maybe to play its part in front of them as well now, how they're going to navigate through this next phase of the race. 1/3 complete, 20 minutes left to go.
Yeah, we didn't talk at all about traffic in race 1, just wasn't a part of the conversation, but Julian Swanson, who got into trouble on lap 1, he's going to be caught. You see him up at the head of your screen. Brandon Walker, who crashed on lap 1 as well, and maybe even Max Repo Lust. They're going to be fighting. I don't know if they're going to fight to stay on the lead lap. I assume they're going to get blue flags, but it's still going to be an extra chicane added to this track that our race leader didn't want to see.
So, first time we're dealing... I don't think we dealt with traffic at Sebring as far as I could tell. The lap's long enough as well that it's unlikely. So David Toth 122.954. That's about a tenth quicker than Beloso. Technically, that would be the fastest lap of the race. However, no, it wouldn't be the fastest lap. It would be one of the fastest laps. But it doesn't count because he's gone and put a wheel off the track, which is your indication of just how hard they're pushing. There's Dakota Fripp, by the way, true OG of sim racing, a former Vendaval sim racing driver, for those that remember the name.
And now, for a couple more days, one of your Bay Area buddies, Arjuna, ended up, he studied business at Cal Poly Pomona, but more importantly, he was their Formula SAE driver. I don't know if he designed the car, but they knew his sim racing prowess, and they put him in the Formula SAE car to race for them, and he's used that to get a nice old job at Tesla. So I don't know. Is Dakota actually driving this car, or is it on autopilot right now? You never know.
Now that does look. Now I believe that
he could be fooling us.
Dakota.
He could be fooling us.
If he's fooling us, boy, the technology has come on far, and therefore they're probably not far away from replacing us in the broadcast booth as well.
I mean, if he was fooling us, you would hope he would be in the lead.
Yes, that is true, actually. No, that's not true, actually. You want to be in second. You don't want to make it too
I see.
big.
A magician always has to make a mistake, I see.
Exactly. Dakota Fripp's made a mistake off the final corner, and he can't block down to the wall. Tamas Shimon rides as our camera car as Leo Ovcharov gets to the inside and then bodies Dakota Fripp out of the way. That was a little bit rude.
It was rude, but I like to see it. Speaking of careers outside of sim racing, Dakota works at Tesla. Leo Ovcharov, he's a deli manager at a grocery store. He's got his Serve Safe certificate, and he just served Dakota Fripp.
That was, I wonder how Dakota's now going to respond to that. Usually when you get a big contact like that, it drives you forward. That's the right way of being polite about it, right? It doesn't put the red mist in you. That's how someone would frame it negatively. No, it drives you forward. Tamas Shimon drives around the outside as Carter Lundy up the inside. Where did that one come from?
Exactly. I mean, Tamas Shimon is in the dark. I don't know if he can see anything over there. He's got all the lights turned off while he's in VR, but Carter Lundy saw the gap to the inside and made it work, snuck through. Very well done.
It is interesting how dark it is, because technically in VR you need a certain amount of light to be able to have the sensors still working. So he has found just the exact amount of light to allow him to operate in that environment. So about halfway through, we'll cross the halfway mark of the race with lap 11 complete. That's crazy. That's a little bit too crazy as Carter Lundy and Dakota Fripp bang quarter panels in towards the braking zone of turn 1, and Tamas Shimon all over the gearbox now. This is a little bit uncomfortable for me, and I'm wondering what Tobias Krunken and Ethan Bernard are thinking as they sit behind with Daniel Harris and Augustin Torlashi closing up too.
I thought Carter was about to take out the blue cone on pit exit, but he is throwing everything at Dakota Fripp.
Whoa!
And around goes Tobias Krunken, was 5th in line. There was a checkup up the hill, and he gets turned around.
That's what I was worried about. If you are one of those cars behind that wasn't part of the melee, do you just get run over as part of it? Lundy gets the elbows out. Dakota Fripp pushed out once more. Tamas Shimon's not going to be able to drive around the outside of the first of the left-handers, and in fact now vulnerable from Fripp on the fight back. This is great stuff. If anyone thought Okyama could not accommodate Radical SR8, well, they're going 3 wide. Not going to work out, but Daniel Harris picks up 1 and now grabs the 2nd, potentially around the long way.
Leave it to Daniel Harris to do something spectacular. He's thinking you guys haven't talked about me at all today, but he knows as well as anybody. He's been a long-time sim racer. He's got track records at multiple tracks, and he's finally making himself known here.
Love the action. Halfway through race 2 of 3 in our iRacing Radical SR8 Cup finals. Emil Franchak on the fight back. He's in front of Ethan Bernard, who has dropped back slightly, unfortunately, for Bernard. But that's a driver that I think, Joey, you and I will have to keep our eyes on in future PRL finals. And maybe as well, what we're seeing is some new drivers. Previous finals, as Franchak gets very close under the brakes into 4, they've been in the slower power, less downforce-driven cars, right? MX-5, GR86s, BMW M2 CS. In this Radical, we're seeing different drivers qualify for the final, as potentially you'd expect.
And I think Camel has more experience with high-powered vehicles than anybody else. As we mentioned, he's a Polish fighter pilot in the Polish Air Force. So I don't know what horsepower is like for jet engines, but that's got to be a lot. And also, when he's not doing that, he's an instructor at a program called Formula Drive in Poland. You can essentially pay a company to drive a Formula One car, the Silesia ring. So in terms of total horsepower driven of every driver in the field, I feel like Camel has maybe 1,000 horsepower advantage.
I forget off the top of my head. I'd have to go and check my notes somewhere what plane he does fly, but I think just that alone is probably more horsepower than I've driven in my combined life put together as well.
I just looked it up. Apparently a fighter jet has 100,000 horsepower converted to horsepower units. So that's a little bit.
Just a little bit, and that's with the afterburners obviously turned on as well. David Toth has lost a little bit of ground back to your rates leader. Last lap Beloso, 2/10 to the good over second place Toth. Is Max Muir going to make a move for second? The problem really here is if you're Muir, Joey, Beloso grabbing 2 race wins means that unless Muir grabs second, he's a minimum of 8 points behind. That means that if Sanchez grabs 4th or better, really, in my opinion, Prodigy Pass is likely his.
And that's, I think, what Max is thinking about here. He might not necessarily be thinking about chasing down Alex at the front of the field, but he's thinking about minimizing his gap to the leader after coming into race 3. If he can be down only 8 points instead of down 11 points, which he would be right now, that's one less position he needs to excel in. A little bit more trouble there. We just saw down at the bottom of the ground, Dakota Fripp was getting all wiggly as Daniel Harris gets by him as well. I think Dakota's in trouble. He's maybe used up the tires a little bit too much. He started great, but fighting with Carter Lundy and Ovcharov and Daniel Harris, and now he's trying to hold off Thomas Scheiman and Torlashi. He's not having a great time in the middle of the field.
No, and he's getting physical. Plan C for combat, for those that have watched the Formula One movie. That's what's being enacted right now from Dakota Fripp. He's going full Sunny Hayes mode. Not sure how much longer it's going to last, because look at the choo-choo train. It's building up, and it's a herd of angry wasps that are now all over the back as the Radicals spool up through the gears. 380 horsepower, let's not forget. Down the back straightaway. James Barry sees Bryce Wire pop out and make his move for 15th position. It's at the very tail end of the train. No move at the front of the train, so Fripp's holding on for the time being. Thomas Chamot not close enough to have his look.
Look at that front-endless car of Ethan Bernard, still trying to keep himself in this battle. James Barry and Bernard are side by side, and Barry, he was going to hold ahead of Ethan Bernard, but Bernard, with even with no straight line speed, he's still got the downforce, he's still got the mid-corner speed, and he's able to fight back. That was very well done from Bernard, and the checkup, the aftershocks behind him are felt all the way back to Kit Belowski and Sergio Ferrero for last in this train.
But bad news, Bernard does have a 5-second time penalty for causing contact with Tobias Kruken, so he will drop backwards as a result of that. Up the inside from Sergio Ferreira on Guglielmo Caligari as they sweep out of the S's. A little bit careful there, trying to avoid contact as they watch Kit Belowski behind 2. Beloso once again on that last lap, by the way, below the 123s, albeit with David Toth gaining 0.5 tenth of a second. Joey, this is 2 drivers that are just putting everything out there, but they are so equally matched right now as Belowski gets the move offered by Caligari. It's so equally matched at the front of the field, it's basically a chess stalemate.
It is. And it's at a track where, unfortunately, a stalemate is matched on the track. There's one long straight, there's one great overtaking opportunity. The rest of the track is very difficult to get by. So if we were at another track that had more overtaking opportunities, I think we'd see those guys switching back and forth and back and forth. But as we are right now, if you're in the back of the field, if you're all getting checked up, you've got multiple opportunities to run side by side. But if you're up front, it is very difficult to find an opportunity to make a move.
And so Beloso Sanchez is on track to grab the second race victory of this 3-race tournament. Put himself one step closer to the Prodigy Pass. Bernard still with the front end missing. Again, with a 5-second penalty to the boot as well. Lost out to James Barry. He'll lose out to Ferrero, you'd think, eventually. Nice darting around as he holds the inside line and tries to now stick in the draft. Jaden Munoz gets in front of Matti Orella. That's for 5th position. Although I think Jaden's going to be slightly frustrated at his qualifying, that he's been putting himself in the position of having to make the moves. Bernard back up the inside. Big aggressive lunge under the brakes, and he'll clear himself off to the double left-handers.
It's the best way to get yourself some TV time. Throw the lunges. You love to see it. Munoz running a little bit lower than he was in the previous race, and he's actually got a new friend behind him in Matti Orjuela, who had a great qualifying in race 1, would have had a great race, but was one of those drivers who was taken out on lap 1, and now we can really see what he's capable of as he's been holding touch with Jaden Munoz all race long. Ran 6/10 slower than him on the previous lap, though, and lost quite a bit of ground. He's trying to reel him back in.
Again, if this race is a bit of a guide for what we're expecting from the Virginia International Raceway, then I get the sneaking suspicion qualifying going to be important. Not expecting too much passing, although you can run side by side effectively for 80-90% of the lap at VIR. It's just the S's which you can't. Max Muir shoves it up the inside, and while the rear end steps around on him, he saves it. David Toth will reinsert himself to 2nd position, though. David Sobrero's made this a 3-car choo-choo train for 2nd. Beloso Sanchez now almost 2 seconds clear at the front of the field.
Hello, David Sobrero. We haven't seen you much today. He's going to try and make the move on one of the stars. He's got the nose to the inside through the 2nd hairpin. You need to be on the inside through there. And David Sobrero puts himself up onto the podium. And Max Muir just going in the wrong direction. Wanted to finish 2nd, wanted to finish 3rd. Now down to 4th. That's an even bigger gap he's going to have to make up in race 3 if he wants to beat our race leader to this overall championship today.
This is an intriguing format. The problem is someone at the front of the field, Joey, is just making it quite boring. If you go out, you qualify on pole position, you win the race from pole position, there's not much the drivers behind you can really do to make it interesting.
I think it's interesting for him, at least. I hope he's having a good time. He doesn't look like he's especially excited, but he is. He's just in the zone. I think that's the face of being in the zone, I guess.
You'd probably settle for a boring race to win his Prodigy Pass. Let's be honest.
I think so.
You would not complain about that. Caligari and Bernard still going back and forth for 18th position. Remember, these drivers at this point almost mathematically out of the equation for the Prodigy Pass. They're just fighting in and amongst themselves. What we're really learning is that you can rip the front end off of a Radical, and yes, it will harm your speed. It doesn't really affect your ability to battle wheel to wheel.
No, it's great in the corners, and luckily for Ethan, Okyama does have a lot of corners, especially after the first sector. You've got the 2 long straights to start, and then after that, it is almost like a street course in the middle and final sectors of just constant tight corners, 90-degree corners. And back up to Maximilian Muir, who's in that first sector, trying to take advantage of those early straights, because that's what he needs to get closer to David Sobrero. He seems to have lost the tires a little bit. He's not as fast through the middle and final sectors. If he can get a good run up the Atwood curve here, if he can send a dive into the hairpin and get it back, that's what he needs to do if he wants to take this podium back.
And the decision to go for that move is what's dropped him back into this position, right? So it's cost him 3 points. Not likely to cost him much more unless he runs into the back of David Sobrero and makes the punishment for that mistake even worse. A self-inflicted punishment that would be as well, to get a penalty from race control. I don't think there would be much argument about that to drive straight into the back, but that's the margin to which they're driving right now, leaving as little on the table as they can. with what should be, as they cross the line onto the 20th lap of the race, 3 laps left to go.
This is going to be the most consequential battle on the track, I think. Beloso has well and truly checked out, I think. David Toth's doing a great job as well, pulling away from Sobrero, but Mir wants to repay the favor. He wants to get back by. He's been doing some studying. He's been doing some following. He's a little bit closer this time, but his run out of the Atwood curve wasn't that great last time. He's earlier on the brakes than Sobrero on entry, and then on exit, he's about equal. Got some decent acceleration there. He might be close enough this time. He was about 2/10 back on acceleration. He's in the draft. He's pulling forward. I don't think he's quite going to be close enough unless he goes for a huge dive here, and no, he knows he's not close enough this time.
I thought he was going to think about it. You could see him pulling out, but not close enough. You judged that right maybe. Initially. Yeah, although I don't want to say he's going to settle, but I think the last thing that he'll want to do is make it any worse than it's already gotten. Back to Ferrero and Bernard. Again, remember, these are drivers at this point not really in contention for the Prodigy Pass. Just fighting to put on the best show that they can, enjoy their triple header Sunday of racing, and maybe also make a case for the search selection committee as they head on to the final 2 laps now of the race. So Max Muir is running out of time if he does want to grab that podium spot back. Owella's door banging there with Jaden Munoz as the two push each other through the opening corner, and Okyama clears himself, grabs 5th.
Love to see it, getting the elbows out. Moxie, one of the many young drivers in the field. He's only 15 years old. Raced for Williams Sim Racing at Petit Le Mans just a couple of, or virtual Petit Le Mans, should specify, just a couple of months ago. Another driver, very young, but making his name known on the scene. There's been a ton of those drivers today that you might be hearing their name for the first time, but we're going to be hearing their names for, he's only 15 years old. We might be hearing his name for 15 more years or more.
Jaden Munoz, door closing on him down to the hairpin. And then he tries to open it up through the first of the left-handers. He'll trigger some chaos. Okyama, fortunately, doesn't lose too much ground. He's still pointed in the right direction. Down in 6th position. You can see the look on Jaden. I think Jaden was thinking about it, looking at the reaction on his face, but I think he thought better of it. Let's see if he slows down here.
I think he might, because we're about to take the white flag, so I think he might wait until the final lap, because there is a hungry pack of cars behind him right now. There's Kunzer, there's Glack, there's Ovcharov. I imagine Jaden feels bad about that, because that was definitely his fault, and he doesn't want to get a penalty, but he also doesn't want to lose to these 3 guys who are right behind Orjuela right now.
Some fighting in the mid-pack, that's for sure. On board with Glack as the rear tires start to give up. Squeeze onto the right foot. Be careful how far out you swing. Bottom left, that's Davidov. That's Jersey Glack now. As he tries to set up this opportunity. Add a long sweeping right-hander up the hill. And then down to the braking zone. I think it's a little too late, though. Onto this final lap of the race. Jaden Munoz will get a 5-second time penalty for that bit of contact, Joey. Race control straight on the case.
I wonder if he would have avoided that penalty if he gave the position back instantly. I don't know. It was still heavy contact, so he might have still got a penalty either way. I don't know. Or all he can do now is he can't think about giving that position back. He's been given a penalty. He can't penalize himself. He just needs to run away here, build that gap as much as possible, and hope maybe he gets lucky and he's able to stay ahead of Ovcharov or Glack maybe and not drop all the way to 9th.
Well, that won't happen. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, 2 flag-to-flag victories for Alejandro Sanchez Beloso as he takes 1 step closer to a Prodigy Pass and to a Rosetta Stone unlimited language with lifetime access. This is a clinical performance from the Apex Racing team driver. Rest of the field will make their way to the line, and Joey will organize the logistical madness and magic once again and ship the Radicals over to VIR for our final 30-minute race of the evening.
Back to Virginia, we're going to get the planes going. Arjuna's going to hop in his private jet, and we're gonna do a little bit of calculation to make sure we have the points correct, to make sure we can figure out where Alex Beloso needs to finish to clinch the championship.
With Max Muir being down in 4th position, my rough guess is that Sanchez could finish in 6th and win the Prodigy Pass. However, we'll wait for final confirmation on that one. Remember, the drivers also, as soon as they cross the line, they are instantly off to the next iRacing session, hoping to get that little bit of practice time, Joey. And so that's what Sanchez is doing right now. He's not interested in talking to us. Instead, he's interested in focusing on the final race of the day.
Especially at VIR. You want to get every lap you can there, because that track bites. We've had some difficult tracks so far today, but VIR, the sea of grass around every corner, there's no margin for error. And I don't know of any better way to finish this night than VIR, the ultimate challenge.
America's motorsport resort. In some ways, I guess, quite reminiscent of the Atlanta Motorsports Park, which has hosted 2 of our Prodigy weeks already. The drivers, though, at the Virginia International Race, are heading to a track where I think they probably have got a little less experience than maybe they have of either of the tracks, Joey, that we've been to so far today, because obviously Sebring's used in so many different events around the sim racing world. Okyama used in iRacing rookie and base level racing, if you will. But VIR, it's not a very popular track, if we're being honest.
No, it shows up in the historical series quite a lot. It'll show up maybe once a year in some of the smaller open wheel official series on iRacing, maybe once a year in the GT and prototype ranks as well. But driving a Radical around VIR, it's a combination that you might not always run into unless you're deliberately trying to run into it. I think that'll even the playing field a little bit. Will that be the ingredient that gets Alex off his game a little bit and maybe has him qualify a little bit deeper in the field and actually have to fight for this? That's what guys like Max Muir, Jaden Munoz, and a couple others in contention are really hoping for.
And one of the people that's been around the program at the Prodigy Racing League, including some of our Prodigy weeks, Kenton Cook, he had some success here in the IMSA GT races that they've run at VIR. Obviously, when IMSA comes here, they don't bring prototypes. They only bring GT cars. So a chance for the GTs to grab an overall win. It's always an interesting weekend. It's an old school track, though, Joey. The only thing that I really have to complain about VIR, it's not really a complaint. It's more just a reality. We had to chop down the tree. That's my complaint.
We can put the tree in. Do you have a telestrator, Arjuna? Can we put a tree in ourselves?
Let me draw it for you.
We have the power of technology. We can't put a fake tree in there. I think we can do it.
That's what my argument was, Joey. When iRacing rescanned and made this track look all nice and modern, they should have just left the tree in for good measure.
We'll do it. We'll get producer James Yexley is going to put a fake tree in there. I guarantee that, and you can hold him to that.
So now we're challenging him to draw. That's number one, and to get it done in time. So we're challenging his artistic and his expediency skills as the drivers all just load in for, like we said, that little bit of practice. We are using the Grand Prix sort of layout of VIR. We're not using the infield configurations, one of which contains a corner name that Joey and I would not be allowed to say on air without being escorted from the broadcast booth very, very quickly. But it's a very quick track, Joey, that is for sure.
It's all quick, and like we mentioned at the top of the show, the tracks have kind of decreased in overtaking opportunities over the course of the night. Sebring was arguably the easiest track to pass on. There were multiple paces to pass. Okyama, we had that big overtaking opportunity at the hairpin. VIR, you're going to want to make the move in turn one. Other than that, it's going to be very, very difficult. The other best overtaking opportunity is into the roller coaster, and that's the scariest overtaking opportunity in the world.
Yeah, it's not quite as blind on entry as I would argue maybe Sunset is, but it's blind in a totally different way, right? So that is the iconic corner on this track, really, if we're being honest. Now that the tree is gone, that is the one. The run through the S's, then down into the compression, and then around to the tree and to the roller coaster section. Qualifying going to be crucial. I think there's no ifs or buts about it. That's what we've seen. 2 races in a row where Beloso Sanchez has led from flag to flag.
I'm doing my final calculations here. I've got calculations for the top 4 drivers. I'm looking at David Sobrero right now. He finished 5th in race 1. He finished 3rd in race 2. That tells me that he has 61 points. So we have Alejandro Sanchez Beloso on 80 points, maximum points. Then you have David Toth and Max Muir with 66 points each. And you have Jaden Munoz and David Sobrero with 61 points each. So I think those are going to be our 5 in contention unless something goes horribly wrong in race 3. And we'll make sure to calculate those positions as they correspond live once we get going in race 3.
Well, we will continue to try and figure out the math on the championship standing, see if we can get an official word as well. But while we do so, let's step aside. Race 3 coming up next.
Let's go!
The world's first gaming-to-real racing league is here. The search is on for racing prodigies from around the world to test behind the wheel of real race cars. Racing is no longer just for the wealthy or elite. The future of motorsports is now, and it's open to all.
We about to change the game.
In Season 1, 32 of the best racing gamers were sent to real-world tryouts in Atlanta, Georgia, all expenses paid. 24 were drafted by 6 teams inside the Williams Racing Fan Zone in London during the Formula One British Grand Prix, receiving paid professional racing contracts. Now, these drivers are competing in the 10-round Prodigy Three championship to climb the ladder to the Prodigy Two and then the Prodigy One championship. The search for racing prodigies continues. Are you a racing prodigy? Compete now.
We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the skies. We about to change the game. Let's go!
Well, hello everyone, welcome back along to the PRL Radical SR8 Cup Finals. My Junior Kanky Party with Joey Tebbenin. Joey, 30 drivers entered today with a thought. They might have a chance at a Prodigy Pass and advancing their motorsports journey. However, we are down to Alessandro Beloso Sanchez, Max Muir, David Toth, Jaden Munoz, David Sobrero, and Tamas Simon. Those are the only drivers mathematically with a chance.
Are the top 5 from that list you said. It's going to be those top 5 unless something goes horribly wrong, unless there's some kind of nuclear accident or earthquake that takes out all of the top 5 in turn 1. I think it's going to be down to those guys. And Alex Beloso, Alejandro Sanchez Beloso, whatever name we're going to finally use for him, he's got one number in his mind, and that's 6. If he finishes P6 or better, he wins overall. He needs to do no better than that. He's not going to be happy with 6th, but that's a little bit of solace in his mind that he doesn't need to push 100% for P1. He can finish as low as 6th and still win this thing overall and get that Prodigy Pass.
So if he finishes P7, I believe David Toth or Max Muir could win the race and win a Prodigy Pass.
Yes.
So that is asking for a lot, I think. I think Sanchez's mindset in this race after qualifying is simple, right? Qualify and pole. But after that, it's going to be quite defensive. The way he has started the races, Joey, has been intriguing, right? Because he has caught second place napping in both races so far. And so that's enabled him to build up a bit of a cushion in those early stages. Here at VIR, he does that again, and he's off to the races.
And everybody's going to be very hungry to make sure he isn't on pole at VIR, because that's the advantage he's had in both races. He's controlled the field, he's been able to run away, and he's been unable to be passed. But if he starts second, if he starts maybe a little bit deeper in the field, how good is he going to be wheel to wheel in the middle of the field? We know he's going to be very good. He's got so much experience and so many other successes in other cars, but you never know what can happen, especially at VIR. And especially like we've seen in the first 2 races, very good drivers like Kamil Franchak have been taken out 2 times in a row.
And I can tell you, just looking at the weather conditions right now, 55 degrees Celsius track temperature, which, let me convert it for all of you.
I think that converts to hot.
Yes, hot, 131 degrees Fahrenheit for those of you using the incorrect units.
You can
as
cook
we
a pork
take-
chop at 131 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's good to know. We take our first look at this wonderful facility, the Virginia International Raceway in Alton, Virginia, albeit slightly closer to the Northern Carolina border than it is to most of Virginia.
That's a new state, Arjuna. Northern Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina.
You're moving there in like 5 minutes.
I know. That's not
You gotta get it
I better get it right. We'll blame the red flag I had to commentate through last night.
I see.
Yeah, the joys of real world commentary. They can crash on the formation lap, Joey, and cause a 45-minute delay.
Yeah. We crashed on the formation lap today. 0 second
True.
delay. We're running a
Zero
tight ship
delay.
over here.
A very different sort of situation. We've got a little bit of time before we get into qualifying. I think the final driver is just joining in and getting ready. So before we jump into the story of qualifying, let's jump into the story of one of the Williams sim racing drivers that competed in the P3 Championship.
My name is David Dalton Jr., and I am a racing prodigy. I fell in love with driving at the tender age of 5. I started on the video game Gran Turismo 2, and I was so intrigued with how the car moved around a corner. After that, I told my mom I want to go kart racing, and from then, that just sealed the deal. I knew what I wanted to be. When I'm off the track, I'm very much indulged in music. I've been playing drums for 15 years. Drumming requires coordinated precision, and that was able to translate into a racing car. To be part of the first go-round of the Prodigy Racing League, it means everything to me. To be here, you really had to want it. This is the time to show out. This is the time to prove who you are. So if you're here today, you can't take it lightly.
Catch the Prodigy Racing League all season long on Racer Network.
The artist known as DDJ, drummer extraordinaire, BMW performance driving instructor as well, and race winner in the P3 Championship for Williams Sim Racing, albeit when they raced, it was still Williams Esports, as Joey and I were having a chuckle just watching through that VT. And David Dalton Jr. Doing more and more iRacing recently as well. So I do encourage you to go and check out some of his streams as he goes off and explores the joys that is iRacing official racing, Joey. That's the way that I'll put it.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple drivers tuning in, trying to, keep an eye on their future competitors. Luis Bailica, who we know very well, is in the chat, spying on some of his future rivals, has his eye on Alejandro Sanchez, who very well might be joining him in a Prodigy Racing series very soon. But you always got to keep eyes on your competitors. You want to know who's coming up. You don't want to be surprised.
And making sure to support the entire team as well. A huge thank you to all the incredible partners, the Williams Gaming Club, iRacing, Racing Electronics, Wine Country Motorsports, MPI, Wimna, PitFit, Racers Physio, Racer Network, and Solo Parent for pioneering the next evolution of motorsports with us. We are equally grateful to our teams, coaches, drivers, and fans. This journey does not happen without you, and we are proud to be building it together. Thanks as well to Advanced Sim Racing, the fastest growing sim racing equipment retailer in North America. Their realistic and immersive gear delivers pro-level performance for serious sim racers and aspiring pros alike. Right, warm-up lap about to be complete. Pedal to the metal, go, go, go. 2 flying laps for all of these drivers as the track temperature, Joey, has now hit 57 degrees Celsius. I don't think you need to be warming those tires anymore, Mr.
No.
Beloso Sanchez.
We're getting from rare pork chop territory to medium rare pork chop territory now. It is very, very hot. And every corner, essentially, at this track is a high-speed corner. So you might be starting to wear those tires a little bit after lap 1 of qualifying. So I don't know necessarily if lap 2 is going to be faster, if those tires are truly cooked. But we'll wait and see. Beloso knows he only needs one lap. He only needed one lap at Okyama, screwed up the first lap, got an incident point, didn't count. Lap 2 came out and just ran away from the field again. So I don't necessarily know that he's feeling any pressure right now, but those tires will be getting cooked underneath him either way.
Just watch the lines that Veloso takes around this track, because old school in nature, there is grass waiting to greet you and usher you mostly into walls. There's no safer barriers or anything up through the S's. This is high speed. You are committed 235 kilometers an hour as you come over the top of the hill, and then through the left, compression builds you into this, well, what used to be an excellent corner with the tree on the inside. It's still an excellent corner. There's just no tree there. And then this, Joey, run off on the outside. There's an alternate pit lane to be used for some support series. This is that run to the roller coaster where we were saying best of the passing opportunities outside of turn 1.
Very long back straight, but then up over the hill, down the hill, and then up another hill, and a blind corner, a blind braking zone where you're braking while you're turning left. It's a great opportunity, but it's very scary when you're in a solo run, let alone when you're running side by side with another car. And then the last couple of corners into Hogpen, it's pretty much an extension of the roller coaster. It feels like a roller coaster, falling down the hill and then throwing it back up. David Toth, first driver across the line. Where does Veloso? Only P2. Not good enough for pole on lap number 1, but he's got another one in the tank.
And behind Max Muir, remember, the two drivers that are realistically the ones that we are thinking about, David Toth and Max Muir. Toth 4th. He's got to find himself. He's 20,000 behind the car in front. He's got to find a 10th to close on the current provisional pole sitter. Again, just if you're joining us, 2 races are complete, and based on the points from that, it's Alex Veloso, Max Muir, David Toth, Jaden Munoz, David Sobrero, and Tamas Simone, the drivers that have a chance, mathematically, of still winning. There's Muir, provisional pole sitter, over the top of the crest, down into the middle sector of the lap.
And if Muir and Toth want to win this, they need Veloso to finish 7th. If Sobrero and Jaden Munoz want to win, they need Veloso to finish 9th. So it's even tougher for them, even if they win the race. Veloso's got to have a very bad day, but Max Muir, even if he doesn't win this overall, I feel like he's been one of the stars of today as one of the newer drivers on the sim racing scene. He's started to establish himself, but he wasn't necessarily one of the big names coming into this. I think we came into this maybe thinking Jaden Munoz was the top American driver in sim racing, but Max Muir is really issuing a challenge to that title today.
Jaden Munoz definitely up there. It's not to say that Muir wasn't a contender, but maybe not like this. David Toth to the top, and by a margin that is now bested. Muir pipped by Veloso. 3 provisional pole positions on the cards for our championship leader, and that reaction from David Toth tells you all you need to know.
He's so unimpressed. Oh, he's getting up. He's going to get a drink.
Oh, the heartbreak. He thought he had done it, and then not one, but 2 drivers pip him. That is qualifying with the majority of the field done and dusted. Luca Becker, Matthias Arvello, Tamas Simone still got a lap in his book. Josh Perwine, Matthias Kuzner, and Abel Torres, who's leapfrogged himself up to 6th on his sole attempt in the qualifying session after invalidating lap number 1. Dakota Fripp's going to be down in 17th. But now just 3 drivers, Becker, Perwine, Kunzer, who have a chance to set a better lap time.
I think Kunzer could have a shot of making his way into the top 10, but Luca Becker just trying to go for glory here, representing Luxembourg. Don't often see a driver from there. He's trying to go for a little bit of national glory. He's actually represented Luxembourg in the FIA Motorsport Games one time in the esports F4 category. He's continuing to do him proud. See if he can improve on this lap. No. Very quite a bit far off, but he'll be looking from the middle of the field.
And Perwine and Kunz are off the track as well, so that is qualifying done. We have 3 pole positions for Alex Sanchez Veloso, the Apex Racing Team driver, who is now in the prime seat. All he needed to do was finish P6 or higher, Joey. he's got a chance to go 3 for 3 flag-to-flag victories and secure his Prodigy Pass, his ticket to a test physically, mentally, and behind the scenes to see if he is the full package race car driver in his quest to be drafted in the next season of the P3 Championship as part of the PRL.
You can't get complacent, though. He's had 2 great races from pole. He's jumped the field from pole. But same driver he fought with in Sebring is starting second again. He's learned. He might be able to follow him into turn 1, and he might issue a challenge. So can't get complacent, even if you're on the pole for the 3rd time.
It is the final race then of the iRacing Radical SR8 Cup Finals. And all of those that completed laps in 5 or more different race weekends during the official iRacing season that built up to this are eligible to win 3 12-month Rosetta Stone single language subscriptions and 3 $100 Advanced Sim Racing gift cards. Winners will be notified this week, but we're ready to figure out our winner of the Prodigy Pass and of a year-long subscription, lifetime subscription, I should say, as well, to Rosetta Stone. We made our way to Alton, Virginia, 17 corners, 3.27 miles for this particular layout of VIR. That's not VIR, that's Okyama, where we just came from. But never mind. In this Radical SR8, it will be a challenge. The S's are going to be high speed, 250-odd kilometers without the draft is the speed to expect. And Joey, this car can be a handful when you deal with the aerodynamic instability.
Final challenge. Fast S's, fast braking, fast corners. It's all fast around VIR. Very little low speed, as we saw at Okyama. It's the ultimate challenge. All 3 tracks, every aspect of a track you could possibly want in this short championship with this final showdown. Alex Peloso trying to hang on.
If they finished as they qualify, Peloso would be the winner. Max Muir would be 18 points behind, 3 points clear of David Toth. Jaden Munoz would be 4th, David Sobrero 5th, and then Tamas Shimon. Excuse me, no, I got that mixed up. David Sobrero would be 4th, Jaden Munoz would be 5th, and Tamas Shimon, after his struggles in qualifying in race 2 and race 3, he would be the one down in 6th position. And again, I think that's been the name of the game, right? We talked about wanting to be inside of the top 5 in each of the races, Joey, but qualifying has been the be-all and end-all. Peloso getting it done has set the tone for the rest of the field.
Kamil Franchak has had another good qualifying as well. He's in P5. Can he finally survive the first lap of a race? He's certainly going to be hoping so. Guglielmo Caligari, have to give him a shout out as well. P12. Great run from him. And a couple other drivers looking from the back of the field, like Mateo Kunzer and Kit Bolovsky, looking to capitalize on some first lap trouble as they have in the first 2 races.
So let's run you down through that starting grid as we get ready to go. 30 minutes, about 18 laps if we hit the expected speed, and it will be Alessandro Sanchez Peloso that leads from the front of the field. You'll have Max Muir alongside, a repeat of the starting front row from race 1. David Toth and David Sobrero once again alongside of each other, this time on row 2. Kamil Franchak 5th, hoping to survive the opening couple of corners. He'll have Abel Torres in the number 10, representing TC Esports in 6th. Matti Orjula 7th. Augustin Torlashi, much better qualifying for him than in race 2. He's 8th with Jaden Munoz and Leo Ovcharov. I'm pretty sure exactly where they started race 2. 9th and 10th in race 3 as well. Carter Lundy and Daniel Harris 11th and 12th with Guglielmo Caligari, Tamas Shimon, Ethan Bernard, and then Max Ripolus, the top 16. Dakota Fripp, Bryce Wire, Tobias Kruken, and Sergio Ferrero. Those are the final cars in the top 20. Before you get to Jersey Glack, to James Barry, Luca Becker, Julian Swanson, Kit Bolofsky, Matthias Arvalo, Thomas Delacourt, Brandon Walker, Josh Perwine, and Matthias Kunzer. So 30 Radical SR1s for the final time today. We'll get lined up in 15 rows of 2, and behind the pace car, we will get ready to go. And we'll see how much weaving they do this time, Joey, how much heat they really need to build into the tires.
I think they might want to cool them down somehow. If they could jump off the track a little bit and cool them down, that would be the way to go. Because even just sitting on the grid right here with that cooking griddle of a track, the tires are going to be warm right now. They could do a standing start if they wanted to.
Standing start in these radicals would be interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, there's a little bit of a standing start at the back of the field. Some drivers jumping the order a little bit.
Once again, Max Muir is in VR trying to figure out when Beloso Sanchez is going to punch the throttle here. It's always difficult when you're starting second in these sort of situations. Trying to not lose out and have third really force the issue here. And David Toth's got a great opportunity here to fire it up the inside and make it 3 wide to turn 1 if he times the start.
He's got to use every little bit of information he's learned from the opening 2 races about when Beloso launches and hold tough with him. Or his other opportunity, keep close with him, jump David Toth in third, get in the draft, and peek to the inside into turn 1. If he doesn't get to his inside, if he's chasing him down again, I don't know if he has a shot.
It's where preparation meets all the work. The years of dreaming and in the sim racing realm, keeping yourself ready. Beloso Sanchez held the field, and a bunch of angry bulls stormed down to turn 1. 3 wide for second, and Max Muir's been swarmed already, eaten up by David Toth, and maybe by David Sobrero as well. They try and stuff 4 cars in, but that was never going to work through the long right-hander. Single file, hopefully they'll start to sequence through. Beloso, Toth, Muir, then Abel Torres in front of Camel Franchak, who survived the opening couple of corners so far. And I can't quite believe I'm going to say this. We've got 30 machines funneling through into the S's for the first time of asking.
They're 4 wide in the back of the field. I don't know if all of those guys got through there cleanly. A little bit of rally cross for one of the blue cars. I believe that was Augustine Torlashi getting into a little bit of trouble through the S's. But yet again, Alejandro Sanchez Beloso in total control of the field. Didn't allow Max Muir to switch to the inside and get a draft of him. David Toth had the draft. They were 3 wide behind Beloso, and now he holds the lead as he has all afternoon. And he hopes he can hold off David Toth now for the next 30 minutes. And he's just pulled a big gap on him out of Oak Tree Corner, and Max Muir's going to have a shot for second.
David Toth, I think, kicked up some gravel, lost a bunch of traction, and now fight back on for second. Max Muir lost it on the start, but into the roller coaster, regains it behind them. It's last of the late breakers. Camil Franchak gets in front of Abel Torres. That was a bit close for comfort. But out of the long sequence that ends the lap through Hogpen, it's going to be Beloso, only 8/10 clear, rather 6/10 clear of Max Muir. Then Toth, Franchak, Torres, Sobrero, and Torlachi. This lead train extends all the way to 16th spot.
That was very smart from Toth to let Muir by coming into the roller coaster. If they ran side by side, they both would have lost probably about 2 seconds just in that one corner and essentially handed the win to Alex up front. So smart, lose the spot, but don't lose a ton of time. And Toth's going to hope that Muir goes up there and starts running Beloso down. The middle of the field, Sobrero knew he was an underdog here. Didn't qualify where he needed to win this thing overall, but he's not going to give up the fight. And he's fighting with 2 guys who have had trouble today, Abel Torres and Camel Franchak. Both of them aren't going to give up easy because they both want at least one deserving result in the top 5 today.
One deserving result that you'd put forward to the search selection committee and say, you know, if I'd been able to stay out of trouble in those other races, there could have been a real shot. It's a slide up towards what is still known as Oak Tree Corner, as much as there is no oak tree on the inside. I did see some comments in chat. When the tree was there, it would be interesting if it was shading parts of the surface. You'd have different grips levels coming through that corner and having to adjust to it. Really one of those intriguing nuances to think about. If you're Max Muir, you've closed up now, 3/10 off of the leader. The draft's going to keep you within touching distance. There is no waiting around here. There is no ifs or buts. There is only go, go, go. 2 laps complete, and no changes between the top 3 as they run.
Max being cheered on by our old friend Jerome Bertiome, the team principal now of Solpec Precision Racing, as it's now called, cheering on his driver to chase down Alejandro, and he's doing that 3/10 faster on that lap. Max might not have been faster in qualifying, but in these early stages, he's faster in race pace.
These drivers, remember, are competing for their chance to head to Prodigy Week, showcase their ability in a race car, be tested physically and mentally as well, to see if they are the full package racing deal. If they are a true racing prodigy, and then they'll be sent to the Prodigy draft, and the P3 teams will pick them. They'll go racing for their first full season as a professional racing driver. The first full season of the Prodigy Racing League is now streaming free on Racer Select. Catch all the racing action on platforms like Roku, Freevee, Plex, Samsung TV Plus, LG channels, and more. For the full list of where to watch, head to racingprodigy.com. Onto the back straightaway, out of turn 6. Depends on which track map you look at, actually, because they all have a different number of corners. Turn 12 on the one that I'm referring to right now. Don't think Muir's going to have a look this time. Behind, Franchak closes up on David Toth as well.
I wouldn't be so sure. There he goes.
Here he comes. Looks to the inside, which becomes the outside once you work through the right-hander. Pelosi Sanchez says, no thank you.
Yeah, he went for a look. I think it might have been smarter to not go for it, but he had an opportunity, didn't want to waste it, threw it to the outside, and then just got a little bit out of shape coming into the roller coaster and lost a few tenths again. He's under pressure from Toth now into turn 1. If Toth can have an incredible corner here, he might have a shot, but he knows it's probably not smart to send that in there. Muir is fast enough to catch Pelosi. He just, once again, like we saw at Sebring, needs to catch him in a better place where he can actually make a move and not in those very difficult opportunities that he seems to always find himself in.
I think what he needs to do is Tobias Kruken goes alongside of Jerzy Glack for 15th and 16th positions. What he really needs to do is make the move in a place where Beloso Sanchez is compromised sufficiently that Toth, Franchak, Torres, they all have that chance of making their way forward, right? Because really, what all the drivers are thinking right now isn't that I need to pass a leader, it's that we need the leader to lose a bunch of spots for us to even be in contention. On board with Kruken on the 4th lap of the race. In front of him, Jerzy Glack bobbles over that outside curb, but short run then into the actual brake zone of the Oak Tree corner as Jaden Munoz. Has he blown an engine? Look at the smoke up in front.
Oh no. Oh, Jaden. Bad shift most likely, and he pulls off into the grass. Unfortunate way for Jaden Munoz's day to end. Great start at Sebring on the podium, but nope, it ends in a puff of smoke. He's not giving up. He's actually going to come back to the pits, but he was just pulling off to let everybody by.
Got to give him at least that. Not wanting to
I don't know if he's going to make it
compromise.
back before it blows up entirely, but we'll see.
We'll have to wait and see indeed. So, frustration for one. Meanwhile, front of the field, Max Muir going for it. I tell you what, Camel Franchak's going to try and go for it on David Toth at this rate. They're going to trip over each other at some point. That's what I get the feeling, is that those further behind aren't going to be patient at some point. We're 7 minutes in, we've got 23 minutes left to go. At some point, you've got to pull the pin.
At some point, you've got to hope that Max Muir gets a little bit overeager, ends up side by side with the race leader, and ends up pushing him off the track a little bit. That's what Toth is hoping for. That's what Sobrero in 6th is hoping for. And honestly, that's what Max Muir is hoping for as well. He gets very, very close. Coming down the hill into turn 10, you can't really make a move into turn 11 into the first half of Oak Tree, but he's very close. If he can get a great exit here down the back straight, it's a good exit. It's a better exit than the race leader. Muir's going to have another shot here. Can he get to the inside this time, or is he going to have to do it the long way around again?
I will say David Sobrero made his move on Abel Torres by getting to the inside at Oak Tree corner. You can make it happen in the line. Is Max Muir going to be able to stick around the outside? He's going to try, a bit more confident this time. Bleeds back into the line, though. This is nervy stuff. He's testing. He's pushing the limits of what's possible here.
He's got to find a way to the inside. I don't know if that's going to require maybe putting 2 wheels in the grass down the back straight, but he needs to find a way to the inside into turn 14, or else he's just going to keep getting shoved out wide. Can he dive into the inside to turn 1? This is the closest he's been. He had the opportunity, but he wasn't late enough on the brakes. I think Alex Beloso realized that Mir wasn't close enough to make that move work, but I think he misjudged it a little bit. There was an opportunity. It just would have required the latest braking that Max Mir has ever done into turn one.
And here comes Kamil Franchak, by the way. As I mentioned, he's feeling a bit stymied and stifled by pace that's being run right now. He feels like he could push that a little bit quicker, find maybe a path pass, but if you want to pass those in front, first you've got to pass the car directly in front of you, and as of yet, being unable to do that. We have not seen any drivers pushed out wide onto the outside of South Bend, although a couple of drivers trying to do it to themselves further back in this lead queue as they hook the right, get onto the power. Bit too much curb usage for a bunch of drivers, but that's okay. They've all compromised their own run. As Daniel Harris in 8th position, his best run of the day so far.
It's a big fat draft train here at the end of the top 10, or basically the entirety of the top 10. This actually goes all the way back up to the race leader. Mir's going for it again.
And he will stick it. They will go down through Hogpen, wheel to wheel, but here comes David Toth as well. Cannot afford to sit back. This is the steamroller train momentum that I was talking about. Beloso's lost one. New race leader for the first time today, and the choo-choo train's pulling up to the back of Beloso and looking the long way around to turn number one.
It's going to be tough to do it around the outside in turn one, but if Toth can do that, he's on the inside for the next corner. Kamil Franchak to the inside into turn one. I don't think Beloso wants to see him there. That's not a good driver, judging by how the rest of the races today have gone to have the inside of you. But Toth does get by Beloso. He's now down to third. Franchak's up next. You know he's going to be aggressive. Abel Torres is going to be aggressive. I don't know. It's a downward trend for Beloso right now.
Joey, you cannot see the smile that has developed on my face from cheek to cheek. I'm looking like Lorenz Herzing right now. For those who know our P2 championship driver for Thibaut Courtois Racing. So, for the first time, cracks in the armor. Although, let's not forget, Sanchez Beloso has been in this sort of a situation so many times before at the top level of the sim racing world. Will he crack under the pressure? Remember, 6th or better gets it done. So he can afford to drop behind Franchak, behind Torres, behind Sebring. What does now happen, Joey, is that Muir and Toth will start to fight, because if it does end up that Beloso drops to 7th, Muir and Toth have got to win to grab the Prodigy Pass away. So it comes down to the battle on track between these two, the 11 and the 8.
And that is a little bit of solace for Beloso, knowing that those two guys are likely going to slow each other down and likely trip over each other again. He might not need that, though. It's a great run out of Hogpen for Beloso. Doesn't get the run, though, as Toth has the draft in front of him as well. The draft train of the entirety of the top 10 is just going to continue here. One by one by one by one into turn one. Kamil Franchak's the first driver who takes a peek to the inside at least, but he's nowhere close enough to make the move on third place yet.
Look at the body language of all these cars. Stiffly sprung radicals. The SR1 that was used in previous Prodigy weeks, often described as an introduction to slicks and wings. This is far beyond that. More downforce, more power, more speed. Requires more of the driver. And fortunately, since we're in the sim racing world, not more physically, because you're having to carry the increased G-load. That was very close. David Toth closed up to the leader, coming over the top of the left-hander. As behind, David Sebring and Agustin Torlaschi continue to argue over 6th and 7th positions. These drivers are right on top of each other. This is maybe the closest that they've been in a handful of laps. And so, is Toth going to decide to have a look? Will Beloso force his hand here? Does he think that he can force the issue? No. Toth goes of his own accord, pops to the outside, exactly how Muir got the race lead a handful of laps ago, and the Hungarian sticks there. Door slam shut down through Hogpen.
Muir was a little conservative on the inside. He gave Toth tons of room, but Toth wasn't able to use it. Got a little bit loose on the exit and couldn't get the run. Beloso has a bad run out of Hogpen. He's got draft help in front of him, but he's got Camel Franchak behind him, looking to his outside into turn 1. Is he going to be able to switch to the inside? He's not. But Franchak is there, Torres is there, Sobrero is there, and there's a little bit of contact between second, third, and fourth.
And then David Toth blocks the path of Beloso Sanchez, and now Franchak almost runs into the gearbox. Nose to nose, they're all stacking on top of each other. The train runs 12 cars strong now. Glack and Kruken have been dropped from this lead train that's continued to develop almost halfway through the final race in this iRacing Radical SR8 Cup final. Remember, if you're just joining us, stakes are simple. If Beloso Sanchez in that 47 machine can finish 6th or higher, a Prodigy Pass is his. He is headed to Prodigy Week to be tested, and his chance of becoming a professional race car driver becomes that much closer. But behind him is Polish fighter pilot Camel Franchak, keeping the pressure on onto the back straight for the 9th time in this race.
It's a little bit of a dogfight here, and Camel yet again is close. Alex is a little bit further off from the front too. He's going to get less of the effect of the draft this time. Toth's going to get a full effect of the draft. He's not close enough to go for a move this time. Still going to be single file through the roller coaster, but Franchak looks hungry. The second he gets an opportunity again, I think he's going to be able to take third from Alex Beloso. And once that happens, I don't know how he's going to be feeling. Is he going to be able to keep the momentum up? Or is the train going to continue to just steamroll him? Because look who's behind him. It does go all the way back to Tomasz Szymon, and in total, across this train, it's maybe a 2-second gap. One mistake will drop you all the way to the back in an instant.
I think that's hopefully the thing that's going to calm down Beloso, is the fact that as long as he stays out of trouble, it could be worse. He does have Manuel Kubo Torres as a spotter, part of the Apex Racing team, probably helping to work through this race right now as well. It's always nice, Joey, having an extra resource in your ear.
It is. There's not going to be a ton of drivers who have that, but especially at this track, it's very important where there's tons of blind corners. It's a car where you do have quite a bit of visibility, but still there's some blind spots. It's always useful, especially in what's almost like a NASCAR-style pack race here. Have a spotter telling you who's coming, who's got momentum, who's looking to your inside, who's looking to your outside. It's always helpful.
Not the best exit, I think, from Toth initially, but close enough that he'll stick into the draft and now suck right up to the race leader on the 10th lap of the race. Is he going to go for it? Yes, he will. Here comes the Hungarian. They did this once before. Toth was brave around the outside. And Muir gives him the space. He's given him the room. And down towards Hogpen. They're still wheel to wheel. Stacking up behind. Franchak avoids running over Beloso. And new race leader, David Toth, hits the front. Max Muir runs off the track. Here comes Beloso. Which way does he go? Goes the long way around. Behind him, Franchak's lost a whole bunch of momentum as well. And so now with Abel Torres in 4th, Sobrero in 5th, Beloso's going to be left on the high side, watching for the contact. Here comes Abel Torres as well.
Muir did a good job of using the side draft down the front straight to make sure Beloso didn't clear him into turn 1, but he wasn't able to force him wide. He wasn't able to force him into a mistake. He's still third, and that's not going to be enough for Toth or Muir to win the championship overall. They need Beloso to start losing spots. They need to race him a little bit harder. They want to race him clean. They don't want to force him into the grass, but that's essentially what they're going to need to do to force him into a mistake.
I have no idea what's going to happen here. I thought I came into this race, even before qualifying, thinking Beloso Sanchez was probably comfortable. Not anymore. Not anymore. And Abel Torres is having his best run of the day. Love the helmet, by the way. Look at that.
It's lovely. It looks like the, what does it look like? I don't know what it looks like.
Anyone who's designed helmets on iRacing knows just how much work that was. David Toth has to watch, because here comes Max Muir. Our championship leader sits behind and plots. Which way does he go? There's some sliding. David Toth not fully under control. Max Muir retakes the lead, and there goes the look from the 47. Ooh. He's put himself in a dangerous position, though. On the outside, here comes Abel Torres. He rips third away from Beloso, who's now down to fourth, and David Sobrero is going to try potentially and make things worse, headed up to turn one. They're bump drafting, pushing each other forward into the opening braking zone.
Alex didn't get a good run down the front straight. He's got a car to his inside now. He's down to fifth. One more spot. If Mati Orjuela gets by, that suddenly puts Max Muir in what I believe is a tie situation in the points. I'm going to double check my math here. Yes, if it finishes with Alex Beloso in sixth, that's a tie. Beloso wins on countback with 2 wins to Muir's 1. But if he loses one more spot, if he loses a spot to Carter Lundy in 7th, it's over. He's still falling.
Wow. Heart rate's up across the board, although taking a look at the driver, you wouldn't see so. Couple of penalties from race control. A 5-second time penalty for Sergio Ferrero, and a 5-second time penalty for Kip Belofsky. So some things further down the running order. It's been pretty clean up front. Back onto the back straightaway. A good exit from David Toth sees him all over the gearbox of Abel Torres. Now again, remember, if Beloso continues to slide backwards, it's between Muir and Toth. Whoever wins this race is the one with the chance of stealing the Prodigy Pass away. Hungarian grabs second, as easy as you'd like.
Yeah, if Abel Torres wins this race, it's basically over for Toth and Muir, so they can't afford to let that happen as much as Abel wants to have one starring performance tonight. Toth has cleared Torres, running away from him. Torres is now under fire from David Sobrero, and Beloso's right there on the scene as well. More good news for Beloso as well. Orjuela and Lundy, 6th and 7th. They're going to be side by side into turn 1. They're going to be slowing each other up even more. And now the leaders, Toth and Torres, they're going to be slowing each other up even more as they're side by side after turn 1. Oh, and contact into the S's.
I was going to say the gap is going to grow to those behind because they are fighting like a pack of angry animals, just trying to close up right now and gain track position. But all the fighting at the front's closed it back up, and so Orjuela, Lundy, Franchak, Tolashi, they're going to close back potentially and put the pressure onto Beloso Sanchez. Sergio Ferrero has not just shod the front of the Radical, he's found himself buried in the tires down at turn number 4.
It's unfortunate. Another journeyman sim racing driver. Good to see him fighting for a spot here, but didn't quite go his way today. And also Daniel Harris. We didn't, I think, notice that when it happened. He was running in the top 10, but he is all the way at the back of the field. He got in some sort of trouble in the middle of the race, and his day is going to end in the deep 20s as well, unfortunately.
See if some of these drivers get a chance to return for a future Season 2 PRL Esports competition. Stay tuned and connected on social media and Discord for more news. There are more Prodigy Pass opportunities coming, is the word from our team behind the scenes. On board with David Sobrero. It's behind where Alex Beloso Sanchez now currently has a bit of a buffer. He's got 4/10 to Orjuela, and then a full 6/10 behind that to Carter Lundy. So right now, not panicking just yet. It will help when you get desperation moves like that. David Sobrero opens the door on Abel Torres, and here comes Beloso Sanchez around the outside, hopefully going to back out of that one and not leave himself in the precarious position.
Yeah, he saw there was some feist there from Abel Torres. He saw he was getting fighty, and he backed out of that, knowing that it probably wasn't smart to be side by side with him as he sent it in there. But Beloso's checkup has slowed him down, and Mati Orjuela, who was once 6/10 back from 5th place, is now right there. As we ride on board with him, if he has a great run out of Oak Tree, he might have a shot on Beloso, and he might have a shot of finishing in the top 5.
Ooh, that was uncomfortable for Beloso as he hit the curb on exit. Slightly at an awkward angle, but the car was rotated well, and so he'll get onto the power nice and early. Coming out of Oak Tree corner. David Toth not close enough to Max Muir to have a look alongside, I think, this time. Although maybe I'm wrong. That draft is super powerful. A pop out late Squeezed onto the inside curb, though. Muir, for the first time, a lot more defensive through the roller coaster. Holds on to the spot. Beloso still in 5th as well.
Gotta be defensive.
I believe 4 laps left to go, Joey.
Yeah, this race has flown by. There's only 6 minutes left. Likely 4 laps left. Doesn't feel like it. It feels like we've been here for about 5 minutes because they've been racing all race long, but it is starting to be crunch time, and that's why you're starting to see Muir get a little bit more defensive. You're starting to see some guys get a little bit more aggressive on the brakes. They're taking risks that they might not have taken otherwise. Beloso's up to 4th. He was able to get by Torres. He's starting to take risks as well.
He took a big risk through turn 1, I think, as well. Committed deep under the brakes, left himself vulnerable to contact with Abel Torres, but they both got through there safely. That might be the sort of risk that's worth it. The justified, the calculated risk that gets you that Prodigy Pass. I see Ciro Zambra is watching along in our Racing Prodigy YouTube chat. Obviously, one of the Williams Sim Racing drivers in the P3 Championship last year, but he's also been doing some racing with Beloso Sanchez in the Racing Unleashed world. So I'm sure he's seen the ability for Alex to jump into a car and pick it up on relatively short notice as well. Sobrero's close enough to make this an interesting sort of battle, but that's the last thing David Toth or Max Muir really wants right now, with less than 5 minutes left to go.
Huge run for Toth yet again. He's got momentum that he uses to pull to the outside, but I think he knew that wasn't really close enough to make the move work that time. But because he didn't fight with him too hard, he's able to get back in line, ride behind him through the last couple of corners, and now up the hill into turn 1. He's going to have a huge run, and he's going to have a great shot into turn 1 instead of into the roller coaster this time.
I haven't seen many moves at 1 for a bit. At the front of the field, and here it comes. The Hungarian left the door, sticks his nose through. The American now down to 2nd. He's still alongside, but not quite there as he slots back into line. Sobrero's eagerly trying to get to the inside through all of this. And so once more, it's a 12-car train. 1st through 12th, split by 3 seconds. Who would have thought that at America's Motorsports Resort?
That was not a great move from Max Muir, though. I think he expected that Toth wasn't going to go for the move. He thought he might be a little bit too far back, but it's too late in the race to make assumptions like that. People are going to get desperate. People are going to make dives, and Muir needed to defend the inside there. But he didn't, and now he's got to fight back. Now he's got to be on offense and try and repay the favor. Into Oak Tree. Toth has had a great run, and he's not going to catch Toth. Sobrero gets by Muir as well. Disastrous that he left the door open into turn 1, and now he's going to lose the spot to Sanchez Beloso as well.
This is disaster. This is worst case scenario for Max Muir. Although maybe for David Toth, it might work out if Muir and Beloso come to blows. Up through the roller coaster, the blind right-hand crest. They touch once again, and neither one backing down. Through Hogpen, it's going to be Muir left on the outside. Beloso Sanchez, his Prodigy Pass hopes in the line. He touches Max Muir off through Hogpen, and race control will intervene. What will the decision be?
Race control suddenly have the biggest decision of the day. Contact between the two championship rivals coming into the final corner. Huge dive in the background from Mati Orjuela to the inside of Abel Torres. If he does another dive like that on Alex Beloso, this might not be over. It might not be over at all. We have to wait for what race control decides.
I'm just calling it right now. If it's a 5-second penalty,
it's over.
It's over. David Toth is going to grab the Prodigy Pass. And we've got 2 and a bit minutes left on the clock. 2 minutes for race control to try and come to a decision before it goes to the post-race. So we'll see how quickly they can work through that. Meantime, Orjuela, Torres, up through the S's, almost connected, bumper to bumper. Abel Torres feeling hungry in the number 10.
Just
out of
following
Oak Tree.
Through Oak Tree. He's studying. He's lurking. You can't make a move through there. All you can do is maximize your exit and stay as close as possible on the back straight. He did as good as he could, and he's going to have a shot here into the roller coaster. He's going to be forced around the outside, but we know he's been aggressive in the past. Interestingly, not aggressive this time. Doesn't elect to go for the move.
So we will head on to the final lap of the race. David Toth is doing what he needs to, leading and hoping to win this race and see things fall by the wayside as they will. Virginia International Raceway, the home of chaos for us here in the iRacing Radical SR8 Cup Finals in the Prodigy Racing League. 1 lap left to go. Sebring not close enough into turn 1.
Sebring is also mathematically in this technically, but he needs Toth to finish 2 spots behind him. If Sebring wins, Toth finishes 3rd and Beloso finishes 9th. Sebring could also win this Prodigy Pass, but it is getting exceptionally more difficult with every second for those realities to start to seem real. Beloso's actually pulled a 1.5-second gap now over 4th place, so he's starting to extend that gap a little bit. Even if he does get a 5-second penalty, it might not be over if 4th and 5th keep fighting.
Looks to the inside, and David Toth forced off the track. Alex Beloso back up to 2nd. This is, well, what the format was meant to bring. Now, on the back straight for the final time, which way does this go? Weaving back and forth once again like they're a snake in Indianapolis during the month of May. David Sebring closes the door. That was a bit reactive if you ask me, but they'll get away with it. For the final time, into the roller coaster section. In the iRacing Radical SR8 Cup Finals, Beloso bleeds out of it. He knows he can't afford to fight too hard. Sebring's going to win it with David Toth in tow. But the question will be, what will race control have to say? Because at least right now, out of the final couple of corners, Alex Beloso Sanchez will cross the line thinking he has won a Prodigy Pass. David Sebring wins the race, but who knows who's headed to Prodigy Week later on.
We just know it won't be Sebring. He's got the race win, but there's no way he wins this overall because he only beat Toth by 4 points. He had a 5-point gap back to him. It's all down to race control now. We got to go to VAR.
Seems to be a bit of a theme in 2025 with our esports tournaments, regrettably. But we will get confirmation as soon as we can. I think my suspicion is, Joey, Beloso was racing with Max Muir, right? They were both going through the corner. We didn't get the best angle from the live picture, but I would not be shocked if that is a racing incident. I would also not be shocked if it's a 5-second penalty. So I'm going to stay very comfortably on the fence where I am right now and continue to accumulate some splinters.
Yeah, it's very difficult to run side by side through the final sector. Alex is celebrating. He seems to think he's okay. But I don't know. Post-race review. No results are final. We haven't heard anything, whether it's no further action or penalty otherwise. I don't know how long we're going to have to wait. I assume if we don't hear anything for a couple minutes, it means no further action, but I don't know, Arjuna. We're in unknown land.
We're in the twilight zone somewhat. We are waiting for the signals to be fed on through. I'm just looking down at Discord messages to get the final points totals, because the way it has shaken out, 113 points for Alex Beloso Sanchez, David Toth with 102, David Sebring with 101, and then Max Muir 86, Jaden Munoz and Tamas Shimon tied on 65 apiece. But again, remember, that is
provisional
pending penalty, however you want to say it. I'm just waiting to see if there is going to even be anything about that. A little bit of contact before we go and have a chat with a hopefully very, very excited Alejandro Beloso Sanchez. And now we've got to remember the middle name, or second last name.
Sanchez Beloso, I believe, is the final. ABS. ASB. Alejandro Sanchez Beloso.
All right. I'm also hearing conversations happening in Zoom now as well. So it's really great that there's so much happening right now. I have been told they are going through incidents now, I don't know if they're going through the incident that you and I are most interested. So we'll get to that as soon as we can. But yes, a traumatic event. And Joey, it was great to have you back in the PRL world with our SimCenter Golden Ticket Finals. What was that, last month? Or maybe even 5 weeks, 6 weeks ago.
Something like that.
Back again here. And it's good to hear that we've got some more Season 2 PRL esports opportunities coming up for the likes of Max Muir, Jaden Munoz, and so many other drivers in this particular final that will be thinking their journey is not done.
Camel Franchak, another driver who had bad luck from the start but was impressive in race 3. He'll be looking forward to yet another event. And I think back to Season 1, we kind of pared down the field with every event. Gustavo Ariel won like the first events. You didn't have to fight with him anymore. And then as the top drivers kept getting skimmed off the top, more and more drivers got their opportunity to win, and I think that's going to continue to happen across Season 2 as the top drivers get taken away, power vacuums open, and there's many new chances to win many more Prodigy Passes.
I'm just waiting for the penalties that have started coming through. Haven't seen anything about Sanchez just yet, but there's something else for Max Repolus that's just come through as a 5-second penalty. I've been told we're going to interview all 3, but I'm not quite sure how this is going to work. So I'm going to stab in the dark and I guess hope this works. And we'll see how it goes. I'm going to hit this button and see if now we can chat to Alejandro Beloso Sanchez, who's hopefully hearing me and hopefully ready to have a chat with us. Alejandro, what a dominant performance from you in those first 2 races. Tell us, how were you feeling going into that 3rd and final race? Were you stressed? Were you thinking that you had it all kind of wrapped up at that point? So, unfortunately, it seems as though, Alejandro, we don't have your audio for some reason. I can hear you, but the rest of the broadcast can't as well. I will say, while they try and figure it out, see if you can talk now, Alejandro. Sorry, go for it now.
Hello.
I think we've got you now. Go for it again.
Yeah, I was just saying that nothing was decided, obviously, it's being such a short final. It was only 3 races, so I knew what everyone was going to try to do in the last race, and I tried to keep myself clean of incidents. Tried to defend in P1 as best as I could, but I got pushed a little bit wide. So I just gave up the position and started going backwards. I knew top 6 was enough. So that was what I was trying to do, basically. And obviously, quite shocking driving standards from some, but nothing new. But yeah, in the end, we made it work. And yeah, I think we won. So very happy with that.
I just had the confirmation that there was no penalty, at least for the contact with Max Muir. Talk me through that incident, right? Because now we're getting to the end of the race. Things are starting to intensify a little bit more. And me and Joey, the other commentator, we were speculating, how do you balance that risk versus reward of not wanting to be swallowed up by the pack even more?
As I was saying, like, it was clear that I was trying to stay top 6, top 5 to be completely safe. In the end, I think 2 laps before the incident with Max, I was around the outside as well, and I just basically lost like 2 positions. So I knew whoever was on the outside was gonna lose quite a bit. He tried to push a lot and turn in a little bit too much, and yeah, I spun out because of it. So yeah, it was all like sort of pre-planned. I knew I wanted the inside through that corner, because if somebody's going to lose a bit of time, it's going to be the guy on the outside, because of what I experienced myself 2 laps ago. But yeah, in the last lap, for example, it was quite a clear thing of risk versus reward. There was nothing on the line for me, and it was quite obvious, but I was just going to get pushed off. So I just gave up the position completely, gave up the 2 positions. It wasn't really going to matter anyway. So yeah, I tried to play it safe and finish P3. We'll see if there are any penalties or anything given, but I don't really care since I already won, I think. So yeah, quite happy with that.
Yeah, I think let's talk about it, because I think provisionally I agree with you. I don't see if there's anything else really that you should be too worried about from race control. So provisionally, congratulations, you have won a Prodigy Pass and you're headed to Prodigy Week. You are a long-time sim racer at the top level. What does this mean to finally be able to take those next steps in the professional racing world?
Quite excited for it, to be honest. I didn't really have much to do in this part of the year, obviously, as you know. most of the World Championships are concentrated in the beginning of the year. So this means a new challenge. I'm very excited, very nervous, because I don't know how well or not I will do in real life. Obviously, I've had some experience in real life, even with Radicals. I've driven the SR3 and the SR1. So yeah, a bit of a head start on that department, I think. But yeah, a new challenge, completely different from the usual dynamic that I'm involved into with professional sim racing, which involves sweating for many hours in your home. Now we're gonna sweat for a lot less hours outside of home, so we'll see. Hopefully I'm very excited to travel as well. That's another reason why I did it. I'm liking traveling more and more ever since I'm growing older and older, and I appreciate it more, these kind of experiences. Obviously really thankful for Racing Prodigy to bring us these kind of chances, for us sim racers to finally develop ourselves into real racers and push our boundaries in the real world and prove to the world that this is not just a bunch of kids driving around on their simulators that are useless in real life. Quite the opposite. And yeah, overall really thankful, as I said, very looking forward to it.
You have also won Rosetta Stone's Unlimited Languages lifetime access to 25 different languages. You're obviously very comfortable speaking in English, not your first language though. So I've got to ask, what would you like to say to Rosetta Stone, and what's the first new language that you might be looking to learning and taking a look at?
I'm very excited for that because I started learning German last year. Obviously I was forced because I had to earn like 2 credits in order to finish my mechanical engineering degree, and I only realized in July, and that was the only thing that was left. But I think I'm gonna learn German. It's probably the most useful language for me after English and Spanish. So very excited for that. It's quite a surprise, to be honest. So yeah, thank you a lot for that, and yeah, really thank you to Rosetta.
Congratulations, and we'll see you in Prodigy Week and see how you get on in a race car.
Thank you very much.
And we'll go from Alejandro Sanchez Beloso over to David Toth, who's standing by with our one and only Joey Tebben.
Indeed he is. David came so close at the end there, but 3 top 5s, all 3 races today. Didn't quite get you the Prodigy Pass, but what do you take away from a consistent day? David, do you have a copy? Doesn't appear that David can hear me, unfortunately. Check one more time, David. No, unfortunate Arjuna. David is stunned into silence. Oh, he's moved his mic. This is promising. David, can you hear us now?
Hello. I don't
hear
you.
There we go.
Hello.
You don't hear me?
Yeah,
okay, we can hear
fine.
him.
Sorry.
There we go. Sorted. Exactly. You had a pretty good day today. 3 top 5s, a second place fighting for the win in the last race. Didn't quite get you the Prodigy Pass in the end, but what do you take away from a strong second place today?
Yeah, it was crazy long races, to be honest. My biggest weakness is still the qualifying. I just cannot put all up together in a crucial moment. In Sebring, I was quite lost. I was already talking to my teammates that I won't make it because I was just couldn't fast enough. But in the last 2 races, I had the pace. I killed the rears a bit in the last race because it was crazy hot temps. But obviously I'm happy because it was good races. It were good races. Sorry, I can't speak. I'm just too nervous still. But yeah, overall I had a pretty good fun, and I congratulations to Alex.
Sure. Future Prodigy events, we'll see you back continuing to fight for Prodigy Pass in the future. So congrats on second, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
David Toth coming home in second place at the end of today. Do we have third place David Sobrero is now my question. No. I don't know, but who I do know is I know we have Arjuna. Welcome back.
Yeah, no other chats. I thought it would be a good chance for us to catch up with David, given how close he did come to grabbing a Prodigy Pass. But Joey, time for us to say goodbye once again, and hopefully not for too long before another PRL Season 2 esports tournament is around, but nothing currently on the schedule, so everyone should stay connected on social media, on Discord, because when it gets announced, that will be the place to hear about it.
I'll be ready. who knows what's coming up next? We've had Radicals, we've had a GR86 event. Who knows what's next? All I know is that we're going to see a lot of those names that you saw starring today in future events, continuing to star, and maybe some new names. It's always open to the public. Always new names like Max Muir who are ready to come in at any moment in time. So I'm looking forward to the next one, whatever it is. Arjuna's going to go fly to North Carolina very soon, and I am going to disappear into the void.
Northern Carolina even. But yes, the first full season of the Prodigy Racing League is now streaming on Racer Select. Catch all the racing action on platforms like Roku, Freevee, Plex, Samsung TV Plus, LG channels, and more. For the full list of where to watch, visit racingprodigy.com. And a huge thank you to all our incredible partners, iRacing, Racing Electronics, Wine Country Motorsports, MPI, Wimna, PitFit, Racers Physio, Racer Network, and Solo Parent, and of course Williams as well, for pioneering the next evolution of motorsports with us. We are so grateful for the support from our teams, drivers, coaches, and fans. This journey doesn't happen without you, and we're proud to be building it together. For our team behind the scene, Joey Tebben, Arjuna Kankipati, signing off with Alejandro Sanchez Beloso, the winner of a Prodigy Pass.
Let's go!
The world's first gaming-to-real racing league is here. The search is on for racing prodigies from around the world to test behind the wheel of real race cars. Racing is no longer just for the wealthy or elite. The future of motorsports is now, and it's open to all.
We about to change the game.
In Season 1, 32 of the best racing gamers were sent to real-world tryouts in Atlanta, Georgia, all expenses paid. 24 were drafted by 6 teams inside the Williams Racing Fan Zone in London during the Formula One British Grand Prix, receiving paid professional racing contracts. Now, these drivers are competing in the 10-round Prodigy 3 championship to climb the ladder to the Prodigy 2 and then the Prodigy One championship. The search for racing prodigies continues. Are you a racing prodigy? Compete now.